Nacho Monreal, we knew that, a back problem that forced him off during the course of the match against Manchester City at Wembley, and obviously still no Lacazette. So 4 changes for Arsenal. Mkhitaryan's back, he was cook-tied at the weekend. Welbeck's in the team, Cech's back in goal, and Kolasinac plays at left back. So it's quite an attacking lineup this from Arsenal, with Cech in goal, back 4 of Bellerin, Mustafi, Koscielny and Kolasinac, then Xhaka, Ramsey, Mkhitaryan, Ozil, Welbeck and Aubameyang. So that's Arsenal. As for Manchester City, just a couple of changes from the weekend. Fernandinho is injured. It's interested to see what Pep Guardiola would do in there. What he's done is bring Kevin De Bruyne back into the central area with Ilkay Gundogan, and Ederson takes over from Claudio Bravo in goal. Bernardo Silva comes back into the team. So the City side is Ederson in goal, back 4 of Walker, Kompany again with Otamendi, Danilo, De Bruyne and Gundogan, David Silva, Bernardo Silva, Leroy Sané and Sergio Aguero. So not just Arsenal, that's 2 very attacking lineups.
Alongside John for your commentary is the former Arsenal and England defender Martin Keown. Hi Martin. And also
Good
with
evening.
us here for the build-up. Good evening. Satellite delay. Also with us for the build-up from the Sun, it's top writer Neil Ashton. How are you, Neil?
Good evening.
Good. Look, we're going to be talking about Arsene Wenger ahead of kick-off. It goes without saying, but let's start with Manchester City, quite rightly, because they're top of the table. They can extend their advantage to 16 points. They come here off the back of that wonderful win in the Carabao Cup final on Sunday, but they're without Fernandinho tonight. Martin, how good a season has he had? Is he the top defensive midfielder this season in the league?
Well, he's a player that doesn't actually really get spoken about, and he's really very important, isn't he, to everything that they do. When they're all attacking, as they do, and I've described De Bruyne and Silva as the...
They've got up front. How much do you want it? How much desire is there? Do you really want it that badly? And I don't think Aubameyang did at Wembley.
I think it wasn't just him,
Well,
was
let's see how much City want it tonight. Plenty, I'm sure. Their lead over United could be 16 points once more. There could be 30 points between Manchester City and Arsenal by the end of this evening. Plenty more on City ahead of kick-off, which is just over half an hour away here on 5 Live Sport. Just some of your thoughts, Arsenal fans, on the team selection tonight. Jay doesn't mince his words. Disgusting lineup, disgusting team, disgusting manager. All right. Kev, team's a disgrace. Play like a loony. Start the next game. Hashtag Mustafi out. No accountability. I think that's something we're going to get on to. Ian Wright was interesting on 5 Live Sport Monday night, wasn't he? No accountability, no consequence for poor performance, he said, on Arsene Wenger's side. Neil, in the Sun, your story is crisis meeting, backlash,
yes.
Players' crisis talks without Wenger. What's your understanding of how the players reacted to that Wembley defeat?
Well, they have to react, and Arsene Wenger's entitled to expect a reaction. He wants to see it on the field this evening, and I think the best dressing rooms, and Martin's been in one of the best dressing rooms in Arsenal's history, the best dressing rooms police themselves, and they say, "Oi, okay, this player, whoever it would be, maybe it was Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, maybe Patrick Vieira at times, you're not doing it, we want to see more from whoever it was, Lauren, maybe it was Ray Parlour, whoever it happens to be, the best dressing rooms police themselves." Go back to Manchester United, the days of Roy Keane, the great Manchester United dressing rooms, Gary Neville in there, Phil Neville, the big characters, the big name players, they police themselves. I don't see anybody in this Arsenal team who takes that responsibility, with the exception of Per Mertesacker, but he's not in a position of strength because he's the club captain and he called the meeting. But the problem is, well, Per, you're not playing, you're the substitute, but he's the one. He's the most voluble, he's the most vocal, and he's certainly the outstanding leader in terms of passing on a message. He speaks very, very well. He's a very articulate guy. There's no question about that. But he's not in a position of power because he's not on the field. He's not playing. He's retiring at the end of the season. He's going to go into a junior coaching role at the club. Maybe one day we'll even see him in a technical area. But who are the powerful figures at this football club? Jack Wilshere, he's not playing tonight. He's injured yet again. No, he doesn't want to sign his contract. It's not enough money. Well, where is Jack Wilshere this evening? Okay, Jack, you complain about the way that the team played on Sunday, the decisions that are against you. Well, where is he? Where is he tonight? He's injured yet again. These are the problems that our Arsenal dressing room faces.
Martin Keown, come in on this.
The sound's not great here, sorry, can hardly hear you there, Neil, but listen.
Well, don't worry, I was talking nonsense as usual.
No, Jack Wilshere, in his defence, they won't take any risk with him. He's had that many stress fractures, and I believe that there was a contact injury he picked up in training. They don't want to take any risk with him, and I heard that from somebody high up this evening. So, no, look, characters in the dressing room, how do you breed those? Do you tickle that out of players? Where are they? You look around the dressing room and you think, you know, Koscielny's one that I've been a little bit disappointed with, actually, that now he should be the character, he should be pointing the finger at people. Maybe his performance has dropped off and people find it difficult then to point the finger at other people. I want to see a performance tonight from Arsenal Football Club, an intensity, a desire to put a performance in.
You know, Martin, I don't hear it in your voice that the Martin Keown I knew and the Martin Keown that I used to watch as an Arsenal player, but no, the conviction, the commitment and the desire, it's almost like you don't believe, and this is a club that you played for with distinction, and you want to see, you mentioned pointing the fingers, Martin, and that dressing room on Sunday and that dressing room on Tuesday when those players met without Wenger has got to be, okay, this doesn't happen again. We can't get gubbed, we can't get beaten convincingly in the way that Manchester City beat them at Wembley on Sunday. They cannot do it here at the Emirates in front of their own supporters.
The thing that worries me most is it takes time. When you talk about the intensity in the dressing room that we once had, it took many years to do that. On the training pitch, you know, your small-sided games, there's nobody wants to lose. You make sure you're in the right team, and there was a habit of behaviour on the training pitch. There was desire. That was there, of course, with other great teams as well. You look at the Roy Keanes and the people there in the engine room, people who demand a performance from one another around you. That has slipped away, and it slipped away over a number of years. I'm not sure Arsenal can turn that on in a moment.
Was it verbal, Martin? Was it verbal for you guys, or did you just get a look from Thierry Henry? Did you just get a look from Ray Parlour? Said,
it always starts with a verbal. You have to plan, you have to have visions, you have to have dreams in football, and somebody sets it out for you, and those dreams can come true if you dare to dream. But you know, listen, you look at the players now and the way the club is. Ozil, he signs his contract, probably when Arsenal in the worst possible position they've been in the 3 years they've seemed to have been negotiating. Sanchez is gone. Aubameyang, come back now. You might only get one opportunity to score tonight. It'll be in the first minute, so be ready. Are they alive, those players? And that would be the call. Now Wenger, can he find the words? Can he inspire the group?
He had those chances. Aubameyang had those chances at Wembley on Sunday, had those two big chances. And the top strikers, the clinical guys, the ones who are hungry, the ones who do absolutely anything to score. Aguero's 18th minute goal, the first chance he had in the game. Lucho, the goalkeeper, he scores. And Aubameyang, they brought that guy in to make the difference. It's not for the goals against Everton or...
He's new to the problem. We've got to help him. He's got to settle.
This is Martin.
The dressing room has to do that.
This is supposed to be a world-class footballer. And when you spend that amount of money on a world-class footballer,
how much did they spend on Lacazette? They've just broke the transfer record twice in one season. It doesn't guarantee you. You have to help these players. You can't just let them. They're not the finished article anymore. You've got to help them get in their camp. I'm more concerned about who are the players helping the big-name signings to become an Arsenal player.
Your thoughts, 85058 at 5Live Sport on social media. That's Martin Keown and Neil Ashton, by the way. This is Steve-O. As an Arsenal fan, I can't help but think we need to lose heavily tonight and really fall apart for the rest of the season. Could be a blessing in disguise. I mean, how sad is that a fan has to say that? Pravan says it's going to be typical Arsenal if they win tonight, papering over the cracks, and Wenger lives on for another day. Kev says, I'll write a furious letter to Mr. Wenger if Arsenal get embarrassed tonight. More than happy with a 1-0 loss, which again is, you know, sad for the supporter. But Neil, that's the reality right now, isn't it?
Well, it shouldn't be the reality that you turn up to watch your team, you invest heavily, a lot of emotional commitment, financial commitment as well.
The manager to go.
But you cannot turn up to watch your team wanting them to lose 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 so the manager gets out. I cannot comprehend how you'd watch your side play. Of course, so many people want change here, but everybody still believes this dream. Well, Martin almost believes in the dream that somehow Wenger's going to pull it out the bag.
Who's saying that, Neil? Listen, have you been drinking tonight? You've come in here shouting the odds to about other people. Listen, do it with some rationality, yeah?
Some rationality?
Yeah,
go on.
Yeah, maybe.
Go on.
Yeah, you didn't last long working for Sky, did you? Maybe you should be presenting programmes. Do you know what you want to do on this show?
I do work for Sky.
Hang on a minute, Martin. Deal with the point about Wenger adapting. Can he adapt to a relatively crisis situation such as this?
He's linking me in with Arsene Wenger, that I'm a massive Arsene Wenger fan. Of course I have been. We've won many things on the pitch, but that moment of Wenger ending is getting ever nearer.
To the point.
We know that. But we see it. Some of us show some respect and some dignity. Maybe you should do the same.
All right, hang on a minute. Let's take a breath here. Let's not make this personal. Let's deal with the issue in hand that the Arsenal supporters.
It's too late for that.
OK, but let's deal with the issue the Arsenal supporters, Martin, want to deal with right now. And they're looking to their manager to get themselves out of a situation which is unfamiliar. The question now is, if he's not going to go, how is he going to do it? How does he need, in your opinion, to adapt to this situation?
What he has to do, you can look no further than tonight. Tonight's a great platform for him tonight to win the game. He'd be still thinking, he's in there believing he can still win the game. Can he do it? Everybody, all the experts saying no. And we have to say it's unlikely. But if he pulls it out tonight, it's the very first step to some sort of recovery. But for Arsene Wenger, the future now is getting ever shorter. We know that. He knows that. He's not a stupid, supremely intelligent man in there, but he's a fighter. And tonight, he's going to want those players to react and to respond, and he's got to dig deep to do that. And the Arsenal fans should be here in their numbers to support that. And I know they're not. They're not going to be here for various reasons, and that's a shame. And nobody wants to see Arsene Wenger, this demise, and a boxer in the ring, and someone needs to throw a towel in for him, because it feels like that. But maybe he's going to surprise us tonight, and I'm one that sits here and hopes that happens.
And can I ask you this, will he have adapted training sessions this week on the basis of what happened on Sunday, or will it have been a sort of business as usual week on the training ground? He's
a man of routine. You know, it doesn't change for the big games, for the small games. He has that routine that he works to. You know, and is it out of date? You know, all these things can be discussed. It's not working on the pitch. It's been an absolute disaster. They're 27 points behind City. You know, when I was here as a player, and I likened it to stepping off a train that I thought was going to go through Europe and dominate the rest of European football. And you're at an age where you think it was a shame I could have stayed a bit longer. And then I don't know what's happened in terms of, you know, the money that's come in from other clubs. It's been a long catalogue of stories, and there's been some disastrous results along the way. But somehow Wenger would make it into the top four. And the showpiece match, they'd find a performance, but that hasn't happened this year. And all the critics are there queuing up now. And he needs more than ever tonight to get a result.
Martin Keown with us for your commentary tonight alongside John Murray. Thanks for now. Thanks Neil Ashton from The Sun as well. It's very early to make any sort of prediction on what the crowd is going to be here in North London, but it is still lightly snowing. It's very cold, freezing on some of the surrounding roads and pavements, and well, if it's going to be half full tonight, maybe that will be seen as a success. It is 5 Live Sport, full commentary from the Emirates on Arsenal Manchester City. Right now it's 22 minutes past 7.
This is 5 Live Sport with Jonathan Overend.
Let's take a look at some of the other of the day's sports news. And the day after his England team lost to Scotland in the Six Nations, Eddie Jones got off a train in Manchester to this welcome.
What happened last night, you Get up! Come on, Nick! Let's go!
And Eddie Jones has said that is the end of his use of public transport. Well, Chris Jones, our rugby union reporter, is with us. Chris, he took issue with some of the comments Gavin Hastings has made, amongst others.
Yeah, nasty episode that all round, wasn't it? Because Eddie Jones is normally so amenable with supporters, selfies, photographs, and having a chat with them and everything. And the fact he was on a public transport train heading back from Edinburgh shows that he's happy to interact with the public, but all turned a bit sour, as we heard there. So Jones is going to take steps to avoid those kind of things happening again. As for the Gavin Hastings angle, Jones did say that pre-match comments in the media from Hastings and the Scotland prop Simon Bergen may have contributed to this atmosphere of animosity after the game. But I think what Hastings was trying to say is that, look, Eddie Jones gives it out plenty in the media. Wouldn't it be nice to beat his England team? And I'm not sure really you can blame Gavin Hastings or Simon Bergen or Scottish rugby or Scottish football or Scottish people for what went on at that station. I think it's a minority deciding to abuse the hospitality Eddie Jones showed and really cross the line.
Yeah. What about any response from the RFU?
Well, the RFU aren't commenting officially. They, I understand, welcome Scottish Rugby's statement, because the Scottish Rugby Union sent out a really strong statement slamming the behaviour of those people in that clip we heard at the station, saying it was disgusting behaviour and that they are appalled. And the RFU, I understand, very much very much appreciative of the support being shown by Scottish rugby. But Phil, Eddie Jones has said all he needs to say in his comments to the newspapers overnight, and I understand Jones is keen to draw a line under this episode. But I think it does need to be stressed that the men in that video, and you heard launching those insults at Jones, aren't representative of Scottish rugby fans, Scottish football fans, Scottish rugby, the British people, the Scottish people. It's a minority that's turned abusive. People will look at whether Eddie Jones should have been travelling alone in standard class, all of that, and whether sometimes comments do go across the line in pre-match media sparring. But I don't think anything should really excuse what was happening there and the behaviour of those individuals.
Chris Jones on Rugby Union, and Chris's latest podcast with Ugo Monye, available now from the 5 Live website, recorded in front of a live audience, and Billy Vunipola, special guest. Well worth checking out if you haven't done so already. 7:25. Arsene Wenger's been talking to television here at the Emirates. We lost the final on Sunday, and it takes desire to respond, he says, because we're proud and we want to win games. There were questions after the final, but they're a good side, and when you play in a final you have to accept you can lose. And on his team selection tonight, we want to attack. We played a bit more cautiously at Wembley. We'll see if we can be more comfortable with a back four. Well, alterations and hopefully, from an Arsenal point of view, better fortunes tonight, because they were comprehensively beaten, weren't they, on Sunday in the League Cup final. This is a different matter. Premier League action 20 minutes away, and you'll hear the whole match here on 5 Live Sport. Let's take you to Birmingham now, because Life Post Sir Mo Farah begins for British Athletics this evening. The World Indoor Championships are underway, and with Farah now focusing on a marathon career. Medals on the track could be pretty hard to come by. If we get some, where are they going to come from? Well, our team of Ed Harry and former GB Olympian Alison Kirbishley will be trackside for the whole weekend. This runs through until Sunday. Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
I guess, Ed, Laura Muir is one of those big hopes. She goes in the 3,000 metres final this evening.
Yeah, she absolutely is, Jonathan. Don't forget, double European indoor gold for Laura Muir around about this time last year. She's the European record holder for tonight's distance, the 3,000 metres. The challenge, as always, though, comes from East Africa. Genzebe Dibaba of Ethiopia has won this title at the last 2 editions of the World Indoors, and 2 years ago I was there in Portland when she won it by more than 6 seconds, and she's only now really recapturing that form. Helen Obiri of Kenya, who won the 5,000 at London 2017, will be very tough to beat as well. We hope to see Laura Muir and indeed Alison Eilish-McColgan in contention deep into that race.
Yeah, absolutely, Ed. I mean, it's one of the strongest, if not the strongest field set aside. I caught up with Laura Muir at the hotel this morning. Thankfully, she arrived from Scotland. She escaped out just on the M80 before they closed it, I think, last night. Got to the hotel about 11 o'clock. She was really, really relaxed, but she did say that I think it's kind of getting to her a lot, because people obviously harp on about her 2 golds at the European Indoors last year and think it's going to be that easy for her. This field is phenomenal, and it's really going to be who runs their own race but who reacts, because there's so many kickers in this. You cannot leave it late, so it's really going to hot up, and I think we're going to see something close to her British record if she's going to get close to a medal.
And Jonathan, the high jump is taking centre stage in the early part of the evening. They're both right in the middle of the 60-metre track. It looks a little bit like a boxing ring. A male athlete jumps, a female athlete jumps. Have to say, Robbie Grabars is already out. He's fouled out at the second height, 2 metres 25, a silver medalist at the last World Indoors, but finishing 9th in this 11-man field here tonight. Much better news so far for Morgan Lake. A first-time clearance at 1 metre 89 puts her currently in 4th place. Leading these respective competitions are the 2 gold medalists from last summer in London, Mutaz Barshim of Qatar and Maria Lasitskina, competing here as a neutral, but the Russian has won the last 2 world titles outdoors. But Morgan Lake, if she clears the next height, then we can really start thinking about a medal.
And the World Indoor Athletics Championships there from Birmingham, one of 3 live offerings from BBC Sport for you this evening, as you can wrap up warm and take in what you want. The athletics on BBC 2, 5 Live Sport here for Arsenal Manchester City, and on the red button later, and the BBC Sport website from 8:50, Phil Neville takes charge of England's women for the first time against France in the She Believes Cup. Here's the England captain, Lucy Bronze.
Everyone knows Man United, and the class of '92 was, you know, the kind of best breed of English kind of history in football. And you can imagine that from that, and working under Sir Alex Ferguson, that he's got a very driven mindset. He's very You know, he wants us to dress the same, he wants us to do everything together, be on time, discipline, respect, which, I mean, the girls, you know, girls do as we're told anyways, but he's coming in, making sure we do everything exactly how it should be done. And I think it's great, you know, it's the kind of the little things like that which are going to help you, you know, win World Cups and things, and it's something that he's been brought up doing as a player, and he was successful, and now he's trying to implement it as a manager, and hopefully we can be successful.
Well, that's Lucy Bronze, former England midfielder Sue Smith, and Match of the Day's Jonathan Pearce will be commentating on that for BBC Sport this evening. So this is quite interesting, isn't it? This comparison of what Neville's done in the build-up compared to previous regimes, not specific previous regimes, of course, but it's always interesting, isn't it, when you hear about comparisons? What's your reading of that?
Yeah, I think I look at Phil Neville, I look at all of his interviews that he's given. You speak to the players that have been there. They've worked under Phil Neville this week, and it's all positive. You know, he wants to take England to the next level. You know, England are really close, and I think those small margins that Lucy was talking about, that's what they need. You know, they're third in the world, and he wants to take them to first in the world. And he spoke a lot about belief and believing in yourselves. And I think as a footballer, that's so important. If you have that belief, and that's what he wants to instill into the players. And you think it starts tonight against France.
Not the best record England have against France recently, though, Jonathan.
No, England have only beaten France on 3 occasions, but the last of those came in Deventer in July, and we were there for that for 5 Live in the European Championship match, and it was a nail-biting game. It was a really tough game physically, and England came out on top, even though they lost the goalkeeper injured, and Siobhan Chamberlain had to come on, did very well. And I think that will play on the minds of the French players. You know, France won this, she believes, last year. It's a strong tournament because USA are the world champions and Germany the Olympic champions, of course. So England, in a sense, will come into it as underdogs. But let me tell you about Phil Neville. I spoke to him yesterday, and his pride and his passion for doing this job, astonishing. And he really impressed on me that side of his build up to this. He is so proud to have this job. He is so taken with the determination of the players. He calls them self-driven, he calls them self-motivated. He wants them to become a team of winners, though. That's the difference between being third in the world and being first in the world, that winning mentality. And like Sue says, I think we'll see it start here.
Jonathan Pearce, Sue Smith will guide you through it if you want to watch on the Red Button or the BBC Sport website this evening. 8:50 on the air, kick-off at 9 o'clock from Ohio. England against France. Right, this is 5 Live Sport on this Thursday evening. Bit of a random night for a match like this, but so be it. FA Cup replays, then of course the League Cup final on Sunday. So for the second time in 5 days, it's Arsenal against Manchester City, and it's live on 5 Live Sport after the news with Sarah Green.
On digital, online, smartphone and tablet, this is BBC 5 Live.
Storm Emma is predicted to bring up to 50 centimetres of snow to parts of southwest England and South Wales. There's a red alert in place, which means a possible risk to life. Several people have already died across Britain as a result of the weather. An inquiry is recommending compensation for 2,000 British people forced to move abroad as children. It's found that many of the children sent to countries like Australia after the Second World War were abused. A Ferrari driver has been found guilty of causing the death of his 13-year-old passenger as a result of careless driving. Matthew Cobden was behind the wheel of the £1.2 million vehicle when it flipped over in Hampshire, killing Alexander Worth. And Downing Street says the Prime Minister's had positive and constructive talks with European Council President Donald Tusk. Their meeting comes ahead of Theresa May's major Brexit speech tomorrow.
This is BBC 5 Live on digital, online, smartphone and tablet.
So a look at the weather then. Snow becoming heavier across southwest England and Wales, where there will be blizzards developing overnight. It will also spread into Northern Ireland and some central areas of England. Eastern areas will be drier, but lying snow will blow in strong winds. Snow showers continuing in eastern and northern Scotland and in northeast England. And tomorrow also seeing further snow showers in the north and east. Very cold and windy once again. And the travel tonight, starting Greater Manchester, the M62 A22s seeing closures in both directions. Eastbound, it's closed between junctions 18 and 19, and then both sides are shut between 21 and 22 because of a car fire. Lancashire, we're getting reports of the M6 southbound is blocked because of separate accidents between junction 33 at Lancaster South and 34 at Lancaster itself. In Devon, the M5 is closed southbound because of snow between junction 30 at Exeter and 31 at Exminster. The northbound side is still open, but the advice is not to travel. And then further north into Bristol, one lane is closed in each direction on the M4 second Severn crossing because of snow. Oxfordshire, it's looking very heavy on the M40 southbound. That's because of an accident between junction 6 at Watlington and 5 at Stokenchurch. And in Lincolnshire, police say all major routes in the county are now blocked. The A1 southbound is also closed after a lorry went down on the embankment between the Colsterworth Services Junction and the Stretton turnoff. Sarah Green, 5 Live Travel.
The best live sport coming up this March
on 5 Live and 5 Live Sports Extra.
The Six Nations champions will be crowned.
Out to the far side, it's going to be touched down by Sean Maitland.
The Cheltenham Festival returns.
Sizing John wins the dramatic Cheltenham Golf Cup.
England take on New Zealand in the ODI International Series.
Curran comes in over the wickies. Bowled and England win! Amazing from Tom Curran.
And the Formula One season kicks off with the Australian Grand Prix.
All the drivers are now lined up at the front of this Albert Park circuit. This is the season opening Australian Grand Prix.
This March
on 5 Live and 5 Live Sports Extra.
This is 5 Live Sport with Jonathan Overend.
And we're coming live from the Emirates tonight for Arsenal against Manchester City. Front page of the London Evening Standard tonight is Shut Down London. Well, it's very much open here. It is game on, but I know a number of railway stations have been affected today. Services tonight a hit as well, which has put the fear into a number of supporters who would otherwise have come to this fixture. And, you know, let's face it, one of the standout fixtures of the season. If you're an Arsenal fan, you want to be here. If you're a Manchester City fan, you'd consider making the journey. But on a sub-zero Thursday night with, well, dubious possibility about getting home at the end of it, you can understand why people may stay away. But let's hope for a good atmosphere and let's hope for a good match. John Murray is going to be commentating, and these are the teams. John.
Well, Arsene Wenger went with 3 central defenders at Wembley against Manchester City. Tonight, he goes with a back 4, but an attacking lineup. So he's fighting the Manchester City fire with fire this evening. There is no Jack Wilshere for Arsenal, who has an ankle injury, but Mkhitaryan and Welbeck come in, and Kolasinac plays for the injured Monreal at left back. And as for Manchester City, no Fernandinho for them now, no Sterling still either, both injured, but just 2 changes to the cup final team. Bernardo Silva comes into midfield, Ederson is back in goal, so it's De Bruyne and Gundogan in the middle together in the absence of Fernandinho. Still Kompany and Otamendi again in central defence, and Manchester City with Stones and Laporte both among the substitutes again.
Martin Keown's with us tonight, so let's talk about your specialist area of expertise, that of central defending, Martin. And Nicolas Otamendi, first of all. How much has he come on this season?
Well, yes, I mean, he's become a man, hasn't he, in that defence. Very often he's been out without Vincent Kompany, who we said at the weekend was truly outstanding. And they've got Stones in there as well to call upon. They've looked very, very strong, and in that sort of triangle that Fernandinho has created for them, and it's, you know, the night watchman, so to speak. Silva and De Bruyne are the real joys of this team, and as it will probably go down in history as one of the best 2 midfield players that we've ever really seen, because their artistry on the ball, the way that they create things, they continually just take the game to the opposition, and Guardiola just loves having them there. They're the sort of conduit for the manager and what he's looking to do and what he's looking to develop. Aguero at the top of the team. I mean, let's be fair, the manager's worked with Messi and 1 or 2 really outstanding strikers, and Aguero's another one to go with that.
And on central defenders, you know, Aymeric Laporte, who we didn't mention, 50-odd million quid, and he can't get a game at the moment. And Arsenal fans will look at City's improvement at centre-back and they'll think, well, have we still got Mustafi in the team, especially after his error at Wembley? But let me ask you this. Is Mustafi just looking bad at the moment? How good a defender is he actually?
Well, you defend as a team, don't you? There has to be that psyche of the team, and the front players. They always used to say when I first came into the team when I played against Liverpool, Ian Rush, be careful when you're in possession because he's defending right from the front. You need that. You need to. It's through the whole team. It's in the DNA, and it doesn't seem to be there. So you're only as good, really, as what's in front of you. They're your barricade. And who is that player for Arsenal? You know, you look at Xhaka. Is he doing what Fernandinho does? No, he isn't. He's not filling in around you.
What does he do, Xhaka?
Well, he gives the ball away a lot, it seems. He makes rash challenges. He gets booked on numerous occasions, but he's an ever-present. He's played in every single game this season. He's the only player, and maybe that's staring Arsene Wenger in the face, but he still gets in the team. Wenger trusts in him, and to be honest, I feel he's let him down this season.
But on Mustafi, do you think you could plant him in a side like City and work with a coach like Guardiola? Do you think he'd look out of place? Do you think he could fit in there?
I think he could. I'm not sure who. You know, when you look at Otamendi, you know, he had similar issues when he came in. They're both 5'11". They're both, you know, Otamendi goes and wins the balls now. He's playing with much more confidence. Confidence is everything. And I don't think Mustafi, I mean, we're a bit unkind to him, but the goal that he conceded at the weekend was is almost unforgivable. And now tonight he has a chance to improve upon that, but he needs protection in front of him, as do Bellerin and Glasinac as well. And Will Ozil give that, and Will Ramsey give it. It looks to me a very sort of hollow midfield, and it's going to be very tricky. Welbeck looks like he'll play on the wing. He's, you know, going to work hard, but he's been out of sorts. So many players tonight for Arsenal need to put on a big performance.
All right, well, the two teams lining up in the tunnel here at the Emirates. Tracksuit tops on, gloves standing by. Surprised they're not walking out in woolly hats and triple layers and scarves around their necks. But here they come with Laurent Koscielny leading out Arsenal to the left and Vincent Kompany to the right. It's not the walk out to Wembley Stadium as 5 days ago. But here we are in the Premier League. And as we look around the Emirates Stadium, well, it's just over half full, you would say, at the moment. So perhaps the fears that this could be a really poor crowd were misplaced. And as the flags wave on the far side of the field and the two teams shake each other's hands in front of us here, it's an important night. It's a chance for Manchester City to extend their lead at the top of the Premier League table to 16 points once more. Arsenal, well, they're 10 points off the top four. They're 8 behind Chelsea in 5th. And they don't want that gap to get any bigger. More than that, you feel, Arsenal really need to rediscover some form. They need to show some fight tonight, and they need to earn that respect back off the fans who have come from far and wide in treacherous conditions to show them their support here tonight. That, I think, absolutely key. And your commentary on 5 Live Sport tonight will come from Martin Keown and your correspondent, John Murray.
Thanks, Jonathan. I think it's a little difficult to tell yet just how many people are here this evening for this match, which is obviously one of the most attractive matches of the season here at the Emirates Stadium. With Manchester City, their brilliant record, just the 1 defeat so far in the Premier League, coming here and just 6 wins away, a maximum of 6 wins away from winning the title. I was wondering, Martin, whether people have maybe just stayed inside and not come to their seats. Maybe it's a little bit warmer inside as opposed to coming out to start, but we're nearly ready for the start of the game, and it is probably only half full.
Yes, it certainly hasn't stopped the Man City contingent coming up down to London. Fantastic support they got here tonight. They're seeing great football every week. It's always people always arrive at the Emirates a little bit late, but yeah, it's disappointing, really, to say the least. Yes, of course, when you're hearing on the news, don't travel unless you have.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah, and the Arsenal fans come from far and wide, so I can assure that's probably why they're not here tonight.
Yeah, well, I mean, while I say that, you know, I totally take the point that it is very difficult to get around the country at the moment, and obviously, you know, not all Arsenal supporters come from inside London. Far from it. Many of them travel from far afield, and I guess probably just haven't been able to do that, coupled with the current plight of the team and what happened at the weekend in the cup final. You know, there's probably apathy in there as well, but it is an exceptionally cold night here. It has snowed on and off. the lines are actually painted blue this evening, which gives away the fact that perhaps the ground staff here are expecting snow during the course of the evening.
Yes, I think that's probably going to come, and we start looking and wondering if we're going to get home tonight. But hey, who cares? We're here now.
We are.
Unless we've turned up, let's hope Arsenal turn up.
Yes, and we are. And Manchester City as well, for that matter. They usually do. Andre Mariner is the referee. He's just having a final word on this side of the field. No VAR, I'm tempted to say, thankfully, in the Premier League after last night's event. The Arsenal team, let me just run you through it before we start. So Cech is back in goal. Back four tonight: Bellerin, Mustafi, Koscielny and Kolasinac. Midfield of Xhaka, Ramsey, Mkhitaryan, Ozil, Welbeck and Aubameyang. So very attacking. Manchester City always attacking. Ederson in goal. Back four of Walker, Kompany, Otamendi and Danilo as Andre Mariner gets the match underway. Midfield of De Bruyne and Gundogan, David Silva, Bernardo Silva, Leroy Sané and Sergio Aguero. And already Manchester City with the ball on the edge of their own penalty area, all in black tonight, and the ball bounces back to goalkeeper Ederson, who's able to deal with it and play it out. Strange one, isn't it? Manchester City wore their first choice kit, Arsenal wore their first choice kit in the final. Tonight in the Premier League, Manchester City have to change to the all black kit with the white numbers and letters on the back. And here we are, 4 days on from Manchester City's trophy winning Sunday at Wembley, the final that Arsenal would rather forget. And Arsenal, important the position that they're in, 10 points off fourth place. If they are going to close that gap, then they really need something tonight.
They do, and already I can see De Bruyne in absolute acres of space. And where's that message between the midfield and the fullback? Because De Bruyne just plays just in behind the Arsenal midfield. Looks like Ramsey is playing in the middle there with Xhaka. Ozil playing just off the front. Welbeck there was very interesting. He came across, didn't he, when Vincent Kompany had the ball. He's going to come across from that touchline to join Aubameyang, who's very isolated, I thought, at the weekend.
And Gundogan is very much playing in the Fernandinho role, with both De Bruyne and David Silva to his right and left in more advanced positions. Arsenal, though, with it, and the ball is played over the top for Aubameyang, but Ederson was out of his penalty area to head it away, the bouncing ball, and he's headed it with some effect. Here is Aguero on the left-hand side. Aguero now wriggles away from the challenge of Bellerin. Sané takes it up in a central position. De Bruyne is available. De Bruyne now on his right foot, plays it out to the right-hand side to Bernardo Silva. The overlapping run from Walker. That was so fluid from Manchester City, and in the end it came to nothing, but the spaces were there, Martin, as you've already picked out. But now Arsenal might have some space. The ball is played forward down the left-hand side. Aubameyang available on the edge of the penalty area. It's back with Welbeck in a more central area, who curls a pass low out to Mkhitaryan on the right-hand side, then back behind him to Bellerin. Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. You're listening to this on 5 Live, also via the BBC Sport app as well, and still the Emirates Stadium here with thousands of empty red seats on this extremely cold evening. But already the two attacking lineups, Martin Keown, finding plenty of space.
Well, very much so, and it's a worry. I think Arsene Wenger is almost going toe-to-toe with City. Kolasinac getting back there.
How much of a risk is that, Martin, do you feel?
Well, it is, because they're surely better at it, aren't they, City, than Arsenal are? You know, and he's asking Ramsey and Ozil to take on Silva and De Bruyne.
Yeah, Arsenal with their fragile confidence at the moment. Not only what happened at Wembley on Sunday, but the fact that they are on a run in this year of 2018, when they've also been knocked out of the FA Cup, the holders, losing at Nottingham Forest, and their expensive defeats against Bournemouth and Swansea and Tottenham in the league. They've won 4 of their last 13 matches, Arsenal. Manchester City in possession inside their own half. Otamendi and Kompany again in central defence this evening. Or perhaps you couldn't leave Kompany out after the way that he played in the final on Sunday. Here's Sané now on the left-hand side. Square from Danilo. De Bruyne is under pressure here. Danilo just works it back to Sané on the left flank, all in black apart from the orange boots, and in comes the challenge on him from Mkhitaryan to deflect it out of play. And throwing to Manchester City back towards the halfway line. Mkhitaryan playing more on the right side, Martin, and Ozil in a more central position.
Yeah, Danny Welbeck, as we said, on the left, Mkhitaryan on the right. It still worries me that Silva and De Bruyne are just sitting really, and it's basically Xhaka is picking up De Bruyne and Ramsey has got Silva, and Ramsey really isn't really, he almost doesn't give a hoot defensively. It's almost like, well, okay, if we get the ball we can attack you, and we're quite happy to do that.
So it is Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0 on this Thursday night, this rearranged Premier League match with Otamendi carrying the ball towards the halfway line and passing it up towards David Silva, but it bounces off him, deflects back onto him and through to goalkeeper Cech, who is able to steer it out to Bellerin, who's been pressed by Sané, and Arsenal in danger indeed. They have lost possession. De Bruyne just a penalty area, stabs it towards the edge of the box, and Koscielny is able to come across and clear it towards the halfway line. It is actually slightly surreal that a match of this calibre between these clubs is being played in front of so many empty seats
and almost no atmosphere at all. It's like a practice match, isn't it? And both teams pretty well copying one another's shape. Well, Arsenal copying certainly City's shape. That's the way that they've played. They played the same way for Barcelona. Guardiola, he always plays this deep line midfield player. And De Bruyne has got so much space to pick out the passes he wants, and there's another beautiful pass from just out of play to Sané.
Just skipped away from Sané. It was inches really from being a brilliant pass, but it just took off from this probably greasy pitch, given the precipitation that we've had here this evening. 0-0. Arsenal have cleared it only up towards Gundogan, and David Silva was challenged from behind by Mustafi, but he took the ball, a clean challenge. Andre Marina ruled, and so it's brought forward up towards the left-hand side by the bearded Kolasinac. And Nacho Monreal has got this back problem that forced him off at Wembley on Sunday afternoon. It's a disc problem, Arsene Wenger was saying, and means that he will be out for a little while. Said he wouldn't be involved in the games against AC Milan, I think he said.
It's a big loss. He's been a shining light recently with the goals he scored. Kolasinac came to the club and he looked very, very powerful at left back and seems to have switched off lately. He started well though in this game for Arsenal.
Yes, on the left-hand side of this back four, as Mustafi hits a long pass downfield to the edge of the area, which was cleared away by Otamendi, but comes out into a central area where it slipped through. Well, Welbeck was there and Aubameyang, but it was just slightly overhit through the middle by Ramsey and ran through to the goalkeeper Ederson.
Yeah, I think it's a warning a little bit for City. Aubameyang happy to make those runs. It's Ramsey who gets onto the ball and just tries to thread it through. He just can't get there. Keeper does well.
Not far away from Ramsey, playing it sort of through almost the inside right channel, but just slightly out with the radar. So it is still 0-0 between Arsenal and Manchester City. Martin Keown, former Arsenal and England central defender, sitting here low down at the Emirates Stadium, where it feels like we're in a wind tunnel, Martin.
It certainly does.
With the roof, the cement roof just above our heads, it is really whipping around here. And it's fair to say it's got an edge to it.
Well, if you're out there, you'd want to run around. And I've been just watching Ozil, and I feel he is giving a little bit more to the team. I've been a bit critical of him. He's playing quite deep in that midfield, and he's going to have to work tonight. And what's interesting, he's trying to make a run to join Aubameyang, as is Welbeck, and they're looking a little bit more threatening, Arsenal, when they get forward.
Ozil was involved in centre field as Arsenal start a move with Mkhitaryan now on the right hand side through to Ramsey. Ramsey drives it across. There's a double deflection off Kompany back to Ederson, who is then able to leap very gratefully on the loose ball. He drove it across Ramsey, could have gone anywhere off Kompany. And City a little fortunate there, but they're breaking away. De Bruyne plays it through into the penalty area on the right side. Shot from the angle from Aguero, but into the side netting. He was slightly off balance as well, and he was optimistic if he thought he might score from there. But in his sort of form, why not have a go?
Well, the counter-attack again. And it's Arsenal getting bodies in there, prepared. Ramsey breaking for midfield, and it comes off of Kompany, and Ederson does really well there because it hits him in the body, and he's managed to sort of scramble, gets his hands on it eventually. And they're straight up the other end, City. And that's what we're going to see tonight. If Arsenal are prepared to attack, and they look like they're coming to tango tonight, Man City will want to counter-attack.
Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. BBC 5 Live, and the ball just bouncing out of play for a throw into Manchester City. Welbeck and Walker over there on the far side of the field as Manchester City play from right to left. And Aguero at the other end. In 2018, he's played in 13 matches for Manchester City, Aguero. and he scored 15 goals. He is in prime form, and his next one will be number 200 for Manchester City, and no one's ever done that before. Here is Danilo. Sané then back towards the halfway line to Otamendi, who tries to swing one of those long passes which he's really produced time and again this season, and he's found Bernardo Silva. Now it's played back towards the corner of the penalty area. The cross is deep. Bellerin was under no particular pressure there, but headed it behind for a corner.
No, it was a nervous header, wasn't it, from Bellerin there? Maybe could have taken that down on his chest, and as it is now, it's the cavalry coming up for a corner. Otamendi there, what a fantastic ball. He's played a diagonal ball off of his right foot. Really is growing as a footballer, Otamendi.
He has though, hasn't he, Martin? He's done that all season in the matches that they've played. He's always looking for that pass.
He's encouraged to do it by his manager. He wants that variation in their play.
Corner taken short. De Bruyne, David Silva swings it over, stretching clearance. Aubameyang was there, but he's given it away. The ball's rattling around the Arsenal penalty area. Kompany was after a shot at the ball, but he was beaten to it. Then it's driven in, left-footed from 25 yards by Aguero, but that was blocked on the edge of the penalty area, and Manchester City have got the ball back closer towards the halfway line. We're going to have to make an estimate of what we think the crowd is in here this evening, because we will never find out, of course, because Arsenal will give us the crowd figure for those who had bought tickets, which will include all of the season ticket holders. Otamendi has gone for another one of those passes, and this one he's overhit, and it bounces out of play near the corner flag. It was probably 20 yards overhit. Throw into Arsenal.
It is, but the message is from the manager. Keep playing those balls. He's out there, he's clapping him when it doesn't come off, and he orchestrates everything, doesn't he, Guardiola? Outstanding manager, serial winner of trophies. He's got that first one under the bonnet now, and he's really looking to win the Premier League.
Yeah, 13 major honours, I would call it, as a coach, either at Barcelona or at Bayern Munich, or here now at Manchester City. He had a warm handshake, well, if anything could be warm tonight, with Arsene Wenger before the match. Arsenal coming forward, but Otamendi steps forward and just carefully steers the ball out towards the far side, and it's eventually passed back by Bernardo Silva to his goalkeeper Ederson. But what a record this season, Martin, across all of the competitions. 43 matches, this their 44th. They've lost only 3 of them in all competitions. 114 goals to their name now, Manchester City. And
well,
here, go on.
It's a brand, isn't it? The brand of football, their intention, what they're looking to do and achieve, and the manager just wants to keep doing it.
Welbeck just a little heavy with the challenge on Danilo. No free kick though.
I thought Danilo was taking too long in possession, and maybe he's a slight weakness.
Ramsey now has dispossessed Gundogan, and it's played square by Ozil, and the ball is driven in left-footed by Mkhitaryan, but close enough for Ederson to quickly get down to his left and grab it. So Mkhitaryan with a chance on target. Still Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0, but Manchester City, Ederson very quickly gave it out. And David Silva's now in the Arsenal defensive third. Sané on the left-hand side, Martin.
This is a part of the game where Arsenal have to sort of stay in it long enough to win the game, but there is definitely more of a cutting edge from Arsenal, and they're prepared to get bodies forward, much more than they were certainly at the weekend.
I know that wind's got a cutting edge as well.
Certainly has.
If I hear another weather forecaster say the temperature is -1, but it feels like -6 or whatever it happens to be, that is very much the phrase du jour. Here is Kompany with the ball in the centre circle, playing it out towards the right-hand side. And Vincent Kompany, just to underline it, Kompany this season, this is only his 14th appearance in all competitions, but the way that he played on Sunday, he looked as though he's been a mainstay all season long. And here he is now hitting another long pass down the right flank. Bernardo Silva tries to back heel it. I think he was possibly looking to win a throw-in, but it bounced back onto himself and out of play for a throw-in to Arsenal.
They like this width, don't they? Bernardo Silva tonight and Sané on the left, and both central defenders. The message is to play those balls, hit the wingers, make the pitch as big as you can.
Arsenal just struggling to get it away, but eventually they do pass it away. But Aubameyang just got a little nudge from Kompany, which put him off his stride, and the ball rolled out of play for a throw into Manchester City, which the tall, muscular, shaven-headed Belgian Kompany I mean, he'll have his eyes on the World Cup squad, of course. Roberto Martinez's squad, his Belgian squad as well, with a strong finish to the season to prove he's fit. He has Sané. Sané skips away from 2 challenges, then skips away from a third as well from Xhaka, then plays it to Bernardo Silva, right side of the penalty area, curling shot is in. It's 1-0 to Manchester City, and that's a superb finish from Bernardo Silva. But Sané did all of the spade work there. Brilliant play from the young German to set up Bernardo Silva, who still had a lot to do, but he did it with his left foot, curling it high beyond Cech's dive to his right, and it's Arsenal 0, Manchester City 1, and the problems have begun for Arsenal.
Well, I mean, it's close control from Sané of the highest order. He's just flashed into life. Bernardo Silva on the opposite wing, he cuts in from the ball from Sané, and he just absolutely punishes Arsenal with the quality that he has. The goal is massive when he cuts in on the right-hand side onto his left foot, and he finds the top corner, and Petr Cech's got absolutely no chance. A wonderful finish. There's a flash of brilliance from a really outstanding team here.
Beautiful finish. Cech was a little off his line, but I mean, the curling effort was just inside the post. And it's 1-0 to Manchester City, and those Arsenal supporters who are here, there are already grumblings of discontent.
There are, but let's see the character now. Let's see the reaction. And I mean, not too many people are surprised, are they? That City, with the quality that they have, few players Arsenal with their hands on their hips and accused of walking at the weekend. And let's see where the characters are, because it can't be perfect every week, and it certainly hasn't been a perfect season for Arsenal. But Koscielny there, I was just looking at him, he was having a word with 1 or 2 players. And Wenger wants to see some character now from these players. Yeah,
he was, wasn't he? We saw that. Koscielny standing on the halfway line, you know, trying to lift the Arsenal players. And it comes down to what we were saying before the match, really, doesn't it? You know, that someone has to do that. Someone has to take responsibility, to use that old phrase.
We know City are miles apart from everyone else, aren't they? You know, what are they... I know they're probably 30 points ahead of Arsenal, but they're still running away with this league. Probably the most convincing Premier League victory. I mean, they haven't done it yet by any means, but it's all but done now.
1-0, their lead, and ball deflects out of play. Arsenal with actually a very good home record this season. They've only lost the 2 matches here in all competitions, Manchester United, and then that limp performance, which I think had a large dose of complacency about it in the second leg against Östersund last week. But 1-0 down here. Oh, but Ramsey overhits the pass out towards Bellerin on the right-hand side, and it just runs away from him and out of play for a throw into Manchester City.
Yes, care. You know, Ramsey is on the run, he's moving, and that's the most difficult time to pass it. Weight of pass. And that's what City have, that quality. Sané runs with the ball beautifully, doesn't he, in the build-up for that goal.
Did you see on Sunday how disappointed he was to be substituted, Sané? And of course, you know, he came back so much more quickly than expected from that tackle at Cardiff in the FA Cup, so I guess Guardiola just looking after him. But what a talent he is. Arsenal with the ball on the right-hand side. Bellerin plays it infield. Xhaka, who certainly is a player who's got plenty to prove here after his performance at Wembley. Back it goes to Mustafi, who finds David Silva closing him down, so Xhaka has dropped into his own half and is in 2 minds there, but chips it across to Koscielny, who's being put under pressure by Bernardo Silva, and then Mustafi comes across and takes the ball away just before Aguero can get there, and Kolasinac is put under pressure on the far side by Bernardo Silva, by Walker, I beg his pardon. Then it comes back to David Silva, who tries to play it through left-footed, but it's blocked on the edge of the penalty area by Bellerin, who came back across, and Arsenal might be able to break away on the counter-attack here. Aubameyang, then Ozil with a first-time pass through the middle. Welbeck is blocked by Otamendi, who came across. If he'd been able to nick it past him, he would have been clean through, and it's a yellow card for Otamendi and a free kick to Arsenal in the middle of the half.
Well, that's where the intention is. That's where there's a step better from Arsenal. They do look like they want to get numbers forward. It's a nice little ball to Welbeck, and he's taken out by Otamendi, there's no doubt. But conversely, they lose possession because Xhaka tries to play the ball to Koscielny, and it's a ball he doesn't want to deal with, and all of a sudden City press and win it back off of Arsenal, and it's that sloppiness in the quality of Arsenal's passing at times, and is Xhaka really good enough for Arsenal at this level?
just feels a dangerous spell here for one side or the other. City 1-0 up, you know, there at moment at one end where you thought City might be able to grab a second goal. At the other end, suddenly Arsenal had a chance to equalise. So we've got this free kick now. Xhaka and Ozil are over it. A little dart from Ramsey to the edge of the penalty area. It's going to be Xhaka to strike it, hits it low, and Ederson has to go down to his left. I think he got a decent enough sight on it, but it was dipping, and he just shoveled it away around his left post for a corner.
Well, fair play to Xhaka, because it's a wonderful effort from distance. He's got no real right there to score, but he's had a go, and it's a corner to Arsenal.
Corner, Arsenal take it short. Manchester City are winning 1-0. If you've just joined us on 5 Live, Ozil plays it in. Kompany comes across and heads it securely back out towards this side, where Bernardo Silva was the goal scorer. Couldn't keep it in, even though he was stretching for it. Xhaka, who went for goal, leaves the throw-in for Bellerin, who takes it down towards the dead ball line, towards Mkhitaryan. Bellerin now back to Mkhitaryan again, but there are 3 Manchester City players there. The ball ricochets out of play for a goal kick to Manchester City. So it's Arsenal 0, Manchester City 1 here in London. In Birmingham tonight, we're also keeping you across the world indoor athletics. Ed Harry's there, and I think you've got an update on the high jump, Ed.
Morgan Lake has finished in 4th place here, John, with a successful clearance, second attempt at 1m93. She then fouled out at 1m96, which would have been a new personal best. The competition has been won by Maria Lasitskina. Her fellow Russian Daniil Lysenko has won the men's high jump. Still to come, of course, Laura Muir and Ailish McColgan in the women's 3,000 metres.
Yes, we'll keep you right across that. Thank you very much, Ed. And I think that's about to begin in around about 10 minutes or so, the 3,000 metres. So we'll keep you posted during the course of it. 1-0 to Manchester City here at a very cold Emirates Stadium. There's no rugby league on Sports Extra, by the way, tonight, in case you're wondering. All of the matches have been postponed. And I know a whole raft of pitch inspections are planned tomorrow, so we'll keep you across that during the course of the day on 5 Live as to which matches are on and off, and across the BBC Live pages on the website. Kompany, it's a long pass, but apologises instantly because it was overhit. A leaping Bernardo Silva couldn't keep it in, and it's a throw into Arsenal.
Well, it's interesting there looking, because Welbeck's looking over his shoulder there. He's asking Ozil and Aubameyang, are you going to come and press? Because I thought that's what we planned to do at the start of the game, and it sort of slips away, the discipline from the Arsenal players, and their role and responsibilities, not just in possession but out of possession especially, has been a big criticism, and you can see it just creeping in again.
Arsenal, though, in the red shirts with the white sleeves, coming forward. The ball hooked away by Otamendi, middle of the Manchester City half. Interesting question that to Ozil, isn't it? Are you going to come and press, Mesut? I suppose it, as Arsenal play the ball towards Bellerin on the right-hand side. Sliding challenge from Danilo. Bellerin wins it, plays it back across. Shot of the turn from Ramsey, but Ederson is able to grab it above his head and catch it.
Absolute quality, and by the way, they're straight up the other end. It's a great kick out from Ederson. That's the intention. The game's opening up now, and Ramsey swivels on that and really hits a great effort. Great save from the keeper, you have to say. He had to be lively there.
Don't forget, Arsenal, Ramsey scored a hat-trick on his last home match in the Premier League against Everton, but Ederson, I mean, that was a classic of its type, wasn't it, from the Manchester City goalkeeper this season, to make the save, to catch it, and then to deliver it away downfield in the way that he did, and very nearly set City off on the counter-attack.
Well, it's quite astounding, isn't it, how he completes that, and that was the first thing in his head. As soon as he gets the save, how can I set this away on another attack? And Aguero knows that, so he's out making the necessary run. But I was pleased to see Ramsey getting forward there, and Bellerin actually putting a decent cross in, which he's guilty of a lot of the time, getting there but not actually putting the quality in to match the run.
Here is Ozil for Arsenal on the left-hand side, but it's very congested out there, and in fact Kyle Walker is able to dispossess Ozil and play towards Aguero, and now up towards De Bruyne on the halfway line. And listen to that wind wherever you are, in your car or at home or in your kitchen. You would do well to turn up the heating a couple of notches. I wish we could.
Interesting, City's fullbacks are not really venturing forward as much as we would. Not really seen too much of Kyle Walker down that right-hand side, Danilo on the left as well. I think they've been quite rigid.
And here is Walker then, on the right-hand side. Just gives it to De Bruyne, who hits a long pass. Well, that's a very long pass. It's badly overhit by Kevin De Bruyne. I thought, when he played on the right-hand side on Sunday in the final against Arsenal, De Bruyne, you're probably moving him away from the engine room, aren't you? You're simply not going to get the absolute best out of him when he's not right at the thick of things.
No, he's at that stage of his career now where he needs to be central and where he can open up games with his range of passing and he can make those runs from midfield, and we know the quality of cross he has, and he can pick any pass he wants.
So it is 1-0 to Manchester City. Bernardo Silva scoring the goal in the 14th minute, but brilliantly created by a weaving run from Leroy Sané. Bernardo Silva, Ian Dennis, who was with us for the commentary on Sunday, made the point. I must say, it did surprise me. He said he's played in more matches for Manchester City than anyone else this season. Bernardo Silva. Of course, he's come on as a substitute in so many, but now...
That is astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. He's missed only 2 matches in terms of appearing in them. Here's Aguero, now to Sané. Aguero on the left-hand side. Aguero just draws the challenge, which comes in a little late. It was from Xhaka. That was slightly naive there from Xhaka, and it's a free kick to Manchester City on the left, and Aguero has stayed down.
He's just sort of stamped on him, hasn't he? Definitely caught him.
Stamped on him? Stepped on him?
Yeah, well, Xhaka seems to do this where it's all or nothing, isn't it? He doesn't have that kind of flexibility in movement, so he goes in with... I think he just steps on his foot. But, other referees might have deemed that to be a stamp, but he's just got away with that, Xhaka.
Arsenal 0, Manchester City 1. BBC 5 Live and the BBC Sport app. If you're on the move tonight, you do well not to be. Free kick to Manchester City then. Aguero is up, he's okay, and he takes up a position next to the penalty spot, the lurking danger. They need to keep their eyes peeled. David Silva leaves it, it's played all the way in, Cech has to go down, push it away, and the flag's up on the far side, and it's a free kick to Arsenal.
Well, it's just as well, because you cannot believe there isn't a player in that space. How is he able to just whip that ball across there? Just about offside, I'd give it, but no one's in a position to be able to defend that ball, least of all Danny Welbeck, who's the first player of that line of defenders.
Yes, VAR would have sorted that one out. It's Arsenal 0, Manchester City 1, and Bernardo Silva scoring the goal. And it's actually 21 starts now and 21 substitute appearances from Bernardo Silva this season. But I think it's been a feature of Pep Guardiola, of his new signings. When we talk about Laporte, who's on the bench again for Manchester City this evening, that he has very often slowly integrated them. If you think of Sané last season, Bernardo Silva this, and now Laporte, who's sitting on the substitutes bench alongside John Stones again, which obviously is an issue in central defence for England. But here's David Silva on the left-hand side, looking for Sané. Sané turns back on his left foot and then goes round the outside of Mustafi, pulls it across. Aguero, David Silva, lovely touch, lovely goal. Punch with his right foot, finish with his left. It's 2-0 to Manchester City. And it goes from bad to worse for Arsenal. 2-0 down.
Well, it's Sané again. And he's just, on a night where it's so cold, he is white hot. He really is. He comes alive, springs into action again down this left-hand side. Nice build-up. Just touches it, they've knocked it into his space, and just looking, you can't get near him. He goes away from defenders and makes Mustafi look stupid, pulls it back to the edge of the box. Aguero, lovely little ball. Silva running onto it. It's so pretty to watch, the movement. They're so moved so well. We're watching a replay of Sané and Aguero's, the way that his vision there, his awareness of Silva moving into vision, and he does the rest. He tucks it away, almost like he's in his own back garden. It's so easy.
Martin, that is just a very good goal, and they cut through Arsenal there in the way that we are so used over the years seeing Arsenal cut through opponents.
For sure, and that economy of movement, one touch, two touch, but Sané is the one who unlocks the door, and he asks questions, and then the other two can see it, they cash in. Aguero, and this time it's Silva to finish it off, and it's football of the highest order.
And it's 2-0 to Manchester City, and there is, as was always the possibility here this evening, the prospect of this turning quite ugly for Arsenal, and indeed for Arsene Wenger.
Well, I mean, this was always the question. I know myself, I was calling for more desire, more intensity. You can't play against some of that, really, but you can. I mean, the problems for Arsenal have been inherent all season, and it's, you know, one game you can't just suddenly turn it back on again. Like, they look better going forward, but at any moment they could concede.
And Ozil now breaking away, but showed too much of the ball to Kompany, who was able to slide forward and put in the challenge as another snow flurry begins here in North London, where the streets of London were paved not with the proverbial gold this evening, but with snow and ice all around the place. You rarely see the streets of London so slippery and snowy as they are this evening. Danilo, for once, Ederson's pass to him, he couldn't keep in, so Arsenal have a throw on the right-hand side. 2-0 down now in this match, Arsenal.
Sane again.
Yeah, brilliant.
He's just... Bellerin, we know he's quick, but I'll tell you, Sane's much quicker. His speed of thought is the one, isn't it? How he sees things.
Yeah. Arsenal back in possession, and the ball goes back into the Arsenal half, and they start again with Koscielny on the left-hand side. Koscielny rolling it out towards the left flank, and then across comes Welbeck to help him out, and Arsenal start again back in the centre circle. Mustafi closed down by David Silva, who's just scored his second goal against Arsenal in the space of a few days. Wrapped things up on Sunday at Wembley, and he took that quite brilliantly as the return pass from Aguero, touch with his right foot onto his left, and he drove it from a slight angle past Petr Cech high into the net, and 2-0 it was. It was clinical. It was a delight to watch, really. And it's 2-0 to Manchester City, who it seems are on their way to another victory in this almost all-conquering season.
Well, and they're reaching almost perfection, aren't they? And it looks so easy for them, you know. And they just it's almost just a slight containing job for Arsenal. Arsenal have been very good at home. Their record, there are two teams. They're almost Jekyll and Hyde. Arsenal, when they play away from home, there's no real performance, but at home there is.
Ball played over the top, looking for Aubameyang. Otamendi, though, just got a foot to it first, hooked it away, could have gone anywhere, but he managed to deflect it to safety. And I suppose Arsenal now looking for something akin to the 3-3 draw with Liverpool, that thrilling match when it looked all over for Arsenal that day, and they were able to recover and get something out of the match. There's a stoppage because Bernardo Silva has taken a knock, and in fact it was more than a knock, it was a challenge that has resulted in a yellow card for Kolasinac for it.
Just looking at a replay here now. Kolasinac is just goes over the top of the ball, stamps on his opponent.
So it is a free kick, yellow card for Kolasinac, and Manchester City in total control here. 2-0 up with half-time approaching. I think my stopwatch is seized up in the cold, so I need to look at the big scoreboard, which will tell me that we have played 31 minutes, and Manchester City have got the ball back in front of their own penalty area. Kompany passes it away up towards David Silva, takes a touch, passes it to Bernardo Silva, the two goal scorers together.
Arsenal have just tried to press there, and their touch is outstanding.
Oh, lovely touch as well from Bernardo Silva. Square to De Bruyne. De Bruyne returns it into the penalty area. It's driven across. Sane is there, and Sane almost walks it into the net to make it 3-0. Cut open again, Arsenal's defence, and Manchester City absolutely ruthless here. We've still got 12 minutes to go to half-time, and it's Arsenal 0, Manchester City 3.
You could just feel it coming. Arsenal tried to press high up on the pitch, and they just kept going. They went up a gear. They passed it really well. Great first touch, and they build then through the midfield. And I think if Kyle Walker isn't getting down the right-hand side, just lovely little interchange. De Bruyne again, just putting the right weight on it. It's crossed into Sane. Bellerin falls over almost comically. It's so easy now for City, and now it's becoming embarrassing for Arsenal, and you're wondering, where are the defenders? Where's that, you know, we talk about leaders, where's the organisation in that Arsenal back four?
Well, Aguero set up Kyle Walker, it was, who was thrusting forward into the penalty area. I mean, there were spaces open all over the place for Manchester City, and then Sané just beat his man to it, and as I say, effectively walked it into the back of the net.
Well, Arsene Wenger went back to his philosophy tonight. He wanted to go he just wanted to go to dance with them, and he was saying basically, Ramsey, Ozil, they can do just as much as you going forward, and it looked threatening at times, but these are the masters, City.
So 1-0 in the 14th minute, 2-0 in the 27th minute, 3-0 in the 32nd minute, and it is Arsenal 0, Manchester City 3, and for the second time in 5 days we have that scoreline. Problem for Arsenal is that half-time hasn't come yet. Ball play forward for Arsenal, and Ederson comes across and just is able to do enough to prevent Welbeck getting there, and it bounces through for a goal kick.
And every player looks so efficient in the way that they're playing. Look at Ederson again, he smashed that ball to Sané. What a ball that is. It's unbelievable. It's the ball of the match so far.
Then Sané now gives it to Aguero. That's a worry for Manchester City that Aguero hasn't joined in the scoring yet. Aguero gives it to David Silva. Now to De Bruyne. Bernardo Silva wants it on the corner of the penalty area. This could become quite ugly for Arsenal here as Bernardo Silva chips it across to the near post, but Cech is able to claim it.
Well, thankfully it's a bad ball for Bernardo Silva, because otherwise Aguero's lining up at the back post, and it's just the intention of the team. And Arsenal, again, naive. They know when the keeper gets it, Ederson, he wants to attack straight away, get back into position, because they're coming from, they can smell blood here, City.
Listen, Martin, what should Arsene Wenger be thinking now, having played such an attacking lineup? You know, he has gambled, and really it hasn't come off.
Well,
with a 3-0 down.
It's when you don't respect the both sides of the game, and Arsenal can't stay in the game long enough to even attempt to win it. We've seen opportunities going forward slightly better, but you can't allow De Bruyne and Silva with this amount of space in the midfield. And Sané is just, there's no protection for Bellerin, and Sané just keeps running at him.
Sané, who turns, and this time is challenged by Mkhitaryan, and Arsenal have got it back halfway inside their own half. Now the snow has actually increased in intensity now, and we can clearly see this latest snow shower swirling, being blown all around the stadium. Welbeck now 15 yards inside the Manchester City half. They need to get a foothold. Yes, almost goes without saying, Arsenal 3-0 down in this match before half-time. Kolasinac has closed the ball down into the corner quadrant, but Walker just plays it off him out of play, and it's a goal kick to Manchester City, and a huge cheer from the thousands of Manchester City fans. There are no spaces in their little corner of the Emirates Stadium. The Manchester City fans, they are here to witness this.
They are, and they're witnessing a fantastic performance. Look at this, look, Sané again gets it. He's just ran from the touchline to the middle of the pitch, and not one Arsenal player has picked him up. Who is the brains on the pitch?
Ball glanced forward after Ramsey's pass, but cleared away on the edge of the penalty area, and Petr Cech now is outside of his penalty area, turns it out towards the right hand side here, the Arsenal right. A couple of spectators with their hoods up, who are sitting down at the front section of the stadium, where they'll be in the teeth of this latest snow shower, as Cech has to stretch and almost slips over as he plays the ball forward. Welbeck heads it on. Aubameyang gets a touch. Ozil, first time touch over the top. This could be the chance for Arsenal. Ramsey shoots, and it's deflected by two defenders. Both Otamendi and Danilo flung themselves from different angles in front of the ball, and one of them got a deflection on it to send it well wide for a corner.
That's just simply unlucky there, because it's great defending. I think it's Danilo in the end that gets, maybe it hits his arm. Ramsey's trying to say it hits his arm, but it's great defending, gets his body in the way. But better from Arsenal. Been a long time coming.
3-0 down. Xhaka takes the corner deep to the back post. It's headed away. Mkhitaryan misses his kick, just deflects it down into the ground, and it's cleared away by David Silva. Headed back over the top by Bellerin. And Xhaka now takes possession and plays it into the centre circle. Bernardo Silva leaning on him. Xhaka goes down. Arsenal with 6 minutes to go to half-time, plus added time. And Koscielny, under no pressure at all in the centre circle, off balance, has lifted a pass woefully out of play for a throw-in.
Well, that's a sad sight, isn't it? Koscielny there, decent in possession, nowhere to go, almost just kicks it out in defeat.
And it's going to be a defeat, surely. 3-0 down, half-time approaching. City have got the ball in their own penalty area, but Kompany pulls it across to Danilo. Now, I mentioned the 3,000 metres final at the World Athletics in Birmingham. It is underway, I think, Ed Harry. I'll come to you in a moment, because Danilo is breaking away now down the left-hand side. This could get worse for Arsenal. Sané now in space again, all the time in the world. Bernardo Silva, then to De Bruyne. De Bruyne's ball across. Cech makes the save, with Aguero stabbing it goalwards. That's his first big chance, and Cech saved it.
Well, it's almost a repeat, isn't it, of a couple of the goals that we've seen. Players breaking from deep, goes out wide, bodies in the box, and nobody going with the attackers. I mean, they can score at will here. They're really just toying with Arsenal.
So, as promised, let's get to Ed Harry in Birmingham.
15 laps, John, in this 3,000 metres. Laura Muir, the European gold medalist indoors for this distance, is leading. Right on her shoulder is Helena Beery, the world champion outdoors for the 5,000 metres, with Britain's Ailish McColgan in third place. And right at the back of the field, not unlike the way Mo Farah chooses to run the early stages of these long distance races, is Genzebe Dibaba, the twice and reigning champion for this distance. Coming up to complete 3 laps, Laura Muir leads this 3,000 metres.
OK, we'll keep you right across that over the course of the next few minutes. Here, Arsenal 0, Manchester City 3. If you want to have your say, by the way, at half-time in this match, Jonathan Overend is here with us at the Emirates Stadium. We're going to take your calls on 08085 909 693, and of course get in touch at BBC 5 Live. You can text on 85058. So here is Mkhitaryan on the right-hand side, but Otamendi blocks it out for a throw down the right flank. And it's just been, I mean, we said on Sunday that it was too easy for Manchester City. It's been even easier today.
Well, that was on a day when they didn't play particularly well, certainly in the first half, but they are playing exceptionally well tonight, and it's very significant, the canvas that the wingers give them, and then within that canvas, Silva and De Bruyne, they play their pretty football, and today the fullbacks haven't even bothered to get forward, because Arsenal have had 2 wide players playing high up the pitch, so they're quite secure at the back. Bernardo is just running riot on the right-hand side, and Sané on the left, and it's long may it continue for Guardiola. I mean, he just puts this together. He knows what he wants as a manager, and this is the next group, isn't it? I mean, before it used to be Xavi and Iniesta, now it's De Bruyne and Silva.
Arsenal 0, Manchester City 3, and just about the biggest threat at the moment to Manchester City is the snow. Here's Ramsey into the penalty area, though, plays it across to Aubameyang, back to Ozil, his shot is blocked, and again this time it was Kompany who came across and was able to get a deflection on it to send it behind for another corner.
Well, again, Kompany gets there. He has got no right to get there, to be honest. Arsenal should be at least hitting the target there. Ozil's taking an age to get that shot away. I think it's Ramsey again who takes it, probably the only player that's taking it to City. I'm not sure why Ozil doesn't hit that first time. Corner then, this time from the left-hand side. Manchester City have everyone back. Finds its way to Bellerin in the middle. He lifts it into the penalty area. Challenged for by Ramsey, but could only head it down where it was thumped away downfield in Czechs, almost in the centre circle. As I say, there were no Manchester City players left upfield, so even Aguero was back there. City, Pep Guardiola's City, clearly looking to keep this lead that they've got to take in at half-time. The snow continues to swirl around here, and as I say, that is very probably the biggest threat to Manchester City winning this game, that it should increase in intensity to the point where the match might get postponed. However, Danilo's been shrugged off by Aubameyang. Aubameyang's cross beyond Welbeck's run into the penalty area, and Walker gets there first ahead of Ramsey, but Walker's clearance to Kolasinac. Now Mkhitaryan makes himself available, but De Bruyne is all over him, and Kevin De Bruyne dispossesses him. Bernardo Silva having to work, but Arsenal had it for a moment, but Mkhitaryan's touch took it across where it was cleared away by Kyle Walker, and it remains 3-0 to Manchester City. Half-time approaching, so do get in touch, 08085 909 693 with your view on this Arsenal performance tonight, and indeed Manchester City's display as well. Bernardo Silva, Leroy Sané, the way that he's played this evening. I think we have to talk more about City. I know people want to talk about the demise of Arsenal, and rightly so, but you have to say this is actually an outstanding team, and you have to admire the way that they're so competitive all around the pitch. You know, look at Silva now, pressing. Every player for Arsenal is made to feel uncomfortable when he's in possession, and that's tribute to the way that they work together as a team. De Bruyne pointing at people, cajoling people around him. Look, they win it back again, and here they go once more.
David Silva just stabbing it forward to De Bruyne, who just got a touch on him from Kolasinac, which means that Arsenal have got it back. Just over a minute to go until the 45 are up. Here's Bellerin on the right-hand side. He's got some space, crosses to the near post, but Otamendi got there first. A stooping header away. Xhaka stretching for it. Bernardo Silva with a touch. It was laid off by Aguero, but Kolasinac was able to come across and take possession again for Arsenal. 3-0 to Manchester City. High ball in towards Welbeck. Ederson comes and absolutely clatters Welbeck as he punched the ball away with both fists. I'm sure that he'll have caught Welbeck with a knee in the back, surely, there as he came out.
Well, that's what you call total commitment.
But positive goalkeeping and more.
We know how brave he is. He just takes everything out. Fairness to Welbeck, he's got off on his feet and he's back in position.
Yeah, he's not the biggest man, is he, Ederson? You know, for a goalkeeper, he's quite slightly built, but with that tattoo on his neck, I bet he's fearsome when he's heading your way. Here's Kolasinac crossing from the left-hand side. It's gone all the way over towards Mkhitaryan, who pulls it down, plays it into the near post. Aubameyang was after it, but Otamendi was there again. It seems time and again, Kompany and Otamendi are in exactly the right place to block whatever Arsenal have.
It's interesting, Guardiola's going absolutely berserk, and Danilo, I think he wants more from him. He wants him tighter.
Mkhitaryan with the corner to the near post, easily volleyed away by Danilo. Comes out Xhaka with a shot, but it's straight at Ederson, who's able to watch it carefully, and he grabs it into his chest just below his tattooed neck. And it is 3-0 to Manchester City, and we are into added time at the end of the first half. And you know,
biggest surprise there from Ederson there. He just rolls out to Kompany, because normally he'll just launch that forward, won't he, in a flash and in a moment.
So 0805 909 693. Arsene Wenger with the three central defenders on Sunday. A very attacking team here. You know, how does he change it? What does he change about this? What does he do?
I don't think he can change very much at all, because this is the players he's got at his disposal. If you look at a lot of people saying Mustafi shouldn't have played, well, it was either Holding or Chambers. Are they any better? They're two youngsters. You know, I think the midfield it's not really a midfield. Look, Bellerin there has just let the ball roll under his foot, which is almost typical of the performances. The problem is in the middle of the park with Xhaka. The quality of the midfield is not what it used to be. When you think of the Petites and the Vieiras and world-class players, I don't think these guys are frightening anybody at the moment.
And also a word to throw into Manchester City after, well, Mustafi passed it to Bellerin, who, as Martin said, just took his eye off the ball and it rolled under his foot, and it really sums up the way that things are for Arsenal just now. But on Manchester City, the fact that, you know, they won a cup final on Sunday, and have had to keep themselves at the same level after that moment of victory. I mean, you've been in that position, and of course you've got the confidence from winning the trophy, but to come out again 4 days later and do it again to Arsenal.
Yes, but there are levels of prizes that you go after, and obviously this is some way down the line, the League Cup, but the Premier League's the big one, and you can see the difference. Arsenal fans been booed off again once more here.
Well, 3-0, and the Arsenal fans who are here, and again to stress, the stadium is probably about half full. A chorus of boos, chorus of cheers from the Manchester City fans for their team, who've been excellent again. But Arsenal, once again, Martin Keown, outplayed,
and it's turning into a very sad evening for Arsene Wenger, and that's probably going to be the most difficult team talk he's ever had to give, because I'm not sure where Arsenal go from there. Totally outplayed, outfought, they've competed much better than Arsenal. I think it's as lowest as it gets for Arsenal right now.
Just looks like a damage limitation exercise now for Arsenal, with a scoreline of Arsenal 0, Manchester City 3. And as I say, Jonathan Overend is here with us at the Emirates Stadium.
Well, the evening began here with Arsene Wenger being caught on camera ahead of kick-off, giving Pep Guardiola what looked like quite a stern lecture. Well, it's Guardiola who can give the masterclass at half-time on astute coaching, discernible tactics, play with purpose and execution. How brilliant they have been, how motivated, as John Murray says, they always look And here they are with a 3-0 lead over Arsenal, this time with a whole half of football still to play. 85058 with your thoughts. 08085 999 693. We'll have a social for you through until 10 o'clock on the full-time whistle with Martin Keown. Benjamin Mendy, injured City left back, tweeting through the course of that first half, I'm sorry, but we are so good. Wilfried Zaha, Man City are a joke. Tim Cahill, wow, Man City is on fire. That they definitely are. Martin, as you say, the questions will mount against Arsenal after this if it stays like this or gets worse, but sometimes you just have to settle back and admire what you're watching. And this Manchester City side are as good as it gets in the Premier League, we know that, but potentially, how good could this team be?
Well, and you look at the improvements that can still be made. I mean, Sane was just at the start of the season, he wasn't a regular. It was a couple of cameo performances, and now he's nailed on. He's a wonderful talent. There's no Sterling, by the way. He's not even here tonight. No. Bernardo he's just delicious the way that he comes into the team seamlessly, and that's what they seem to do very well. You know, De Bruyne, I mean, I feel De Bruyne it depends. Some people favour Silva. I prefer to watch De Bruyne. I think he's just wonderful talent, the way that he just caresses the ball, looks for those passes. He's the real sort of engine room, and I can see he competes all over the pitch. And at the back, you've got the strong presence of Kompany. You know, he's there swatting any problems whenever they come around. And Otamendi now is tuned into that. He knows he does exactly the same. And even Walker tonight is playing with an air of he's looking distinguished at right back and not having to raid down the wing all the time and try and take the game to the opposition. He's sat there and he's nice and comfortable.
And can we just give praise to Ederson as well? What a first half he had, and before they'd even scored the first goal, he was making some vital interventions, whether it was saves or cutting out crosses, with a lot of bravery. And as you said during that first half, Martin, his distribution is just an absolute joy, isn't it? But anyway, one thing I wanted to ask you about, De Bruyne and Silva, you said, possibly the new Xavi and Iniesta, two of the greatest midfielders ever to play the game. Do you rate them that highly?
Well, it's the Guardiola footprint, isn't it? It's exactly the same. Busquets would sit deep. Fernandinho, who's not playing tonight, we were talking about him earlier on. But Iniesta and Xavi were wonderful players, and these are the next two guys on the block. They really are. It's high praise, and I think maybe De Bruyne has got a little bit more than those two as well, because of his range of passing, his ability to score goals, which he didn't really do enough of until this season. His desire, it's all there waiting to happen, and it's scary really, because this is just the beginning of something very special, not the end. It may well be the end from an Arsenal point of view. This is why it's sort of like you're sitting here now seeing, you know, Arsenal were magnificent, the team that played the brand of football, and we're seeing now that mantle been taken over by City, and Arsenal are just disappearing into the distance. Such is the extreme gulf in the quality of football here tonight.
And have a listen to some of the comments on the live text pages through that first half on the BBC Sport website. Steve in Plymouth supported Arsenal since '67, and it's clear to see the players have just given up. It's like they expect to lose even before the game starts. They look so dejected. Sarah, I'm giving up on Arsenal and watching MasterChef instead. It's got to serve up less bland, messy and lukewarm fare. But what will the presentation be like, Sarah? Eric, City ruthless. Show us some mercy. Only a blizzard can stop City from scoring more. The beast from the northwest. Like that, thank you, Eric. And David, maybe Arsenal should have abandoned this game, refused to reschedule and accepted the 3-0 loss. Where do we start with Arsenal that you haven't said before, Martin? Again, the lack of leadership is frightening, isn't it?
It is, but I cannot understand where, you know, the ingredients that Arsene Wenger put together back in sort of 2004, when I think I left the club at that point, and everybody was at boiling point. There was such a desire to win football matches, not to embarrass our opponents, but, you know, and you're seeing all of that now with City, and Arsenal have it's disappeared. You know, where is that player in the midfield that controls the play, that demands the ball from the defenders?
Did that come from you, though, as a group of individuals, or did that come from Arsene Wenger?
Well, very much from the manager. He put the personnel in place. He identified the likes of Overmars and Petit and Vieira. He went and got these guys in. There were a lot of people came in all at once. He inherited, yes, a defence, but he worked with that platform within the team. The 2004 team didn't have any of that defence in it, but it still had that same desire. I think the education that the Vieiras and Henri's got within that group certainly helped them to become, you know, switched on and play their football at boiling point and not in the comfort zone. And for too long, people have been in the comfort zone at Arsenal, and normally in the league they make that 4th place, and it's kind of an acceptable thing. You know, Arsene Wenger has pointed to that for many years. But once they've not made it to there, the club seems to be falling, and it's as low as they've been in the Premier League, I believe, since the mid-90s.
All right, take a well-earned break, Martin. Cup of tea. Back for the second half with John Murray very shortly here on 5 Live Sport and the BBC Sport website. Let's bring you news of Laura Muir now at the World Indoor Athletics Championships in Birmingham. Ed Harry.
It's also Great Britain's first medal of these championships. Can you hear me, Jonathan?
Yes, go for it, Ed.
Jonathan, as I was saying, it's Laura Muir's first gold medal. I'll start again. Laura Muir's first global medal. It is a bronze medal over 3,000 metres. Genzebe Dibaba of Ethiopia won here this evening. She's now won this title for the last 3 World Indoors in a row. But on the final lap, with the Ethiopian somewhat away and clear, Muir tussled with Sifan Hassan of the Netherlands. It was almost a silver. In the end, it was a well-deserved bronze for Muir. It's come over 3,000 metres.
5 Live Sport on this Thursday evening. Let's get the latest news with Sarah Green.
On digital, online, smartphone and tablet. This is BBC 5 Live.
Heavy snow and freezing temperatures are continuing to bring chaos and disruption to much of the UK. Many roads are blocked, while hundreds of train services and flights have been cancelled. Storm Emma has swept in from the Atlantic, bringing blizzard conditions to the southwest of England and South Wales. A red warning is in force there, meaning there's a risk to life. Most of the rest of the UK is covered by amber and yellow warnings into the weekend. Alison O'Neill is a shepherdess from Cumbria who's been out freeing her sheep from snow up in the fells.
We couldn't see the sheep for about a good hour. We eventually saw them right at the top under a wall, kind of below a snowdrift. They get stuck under snowdrift, and we broke through, got the sheep out, and then herded them down to sort of lower ground to try and feed them.
The government's being told to compensate people who were forced to live abroad as children in the years after the Second World War. Some of the 4,000 sent to countries like Australia were physically and sexually abused. The president of the European Council says Theresa May needs to come up with a better idea to avoid a hard border in Northern Ireland. The pair met in Downing Street today for talks ahead of a major speech on Brexit by the Prime Minister tomorrow. And the Catalan separatist leader Carles Puigdemont says he's abandoned his attempt to return as the region's president in an attempt to break the stalemate with Madrid. He's been warned he faces arrest if he returns from Belgium to be sworn in.
This is BBC 5 Live on digital, online, smartphone and tablet.
So still lots and lots of problems on the roads because of the weather. Starting in Greater Manchester, there are still big problems on the M62 at Milne Row. Eastbound, it's closed because of snow between junctions 18 and 19, and then again from junction 20 at Rochdale to 22 at Rishworth Moor, and then westbound, it's closed all the way from junction 24 back to junction 21. Snow's also closed the M5 southbound in Devon between junction 30 at Exeter and 31 at Exminster. Northbound is still open, but the advice is not to travel. Also on the M5 in Bristol, there's been an accident southbound between junction 19 at Portishead and 20 at Clevedon, which is causing very slow traffic. And then on the M4 in Bristol, the second 7 crossing, one lane is closed in each direction because of the snow. In Lancashire, 2 lanes are closed. There are queues back from junction 33 at Lancaster South. That's after an accident there. South Lanarkshire, a lorry has jackknifed on the M74 southbound, which is now closed between junction 8 at Candyside and junction 10. There's terrible weather there, and that means that traffic is being diverted off the motorway completely. And as I mentioned in the news, most UK airports are reporting cancellations, and there are also significant delays to train services. Please do check before you travel. Sarah Green, 5 Live Travel.
BBC 5 Live.
Ahead of a massive weekend of sporting action, start your Saturday with the Danny Baker Show from 9.
It makes the Brexit phone-ins and Trump look like a lot of fuss about nothing.
There was a life-size cardboard cutout of George Harrison in his own portrait.
That kind of story can't stay off the air.
And at 11, join Colin Murray for Fighting Talk.
Oi! Ref! VAR!
Who will I upset next?
I hate it. Like, I really hate it.
And at 12, our live action from the Premier League gets underway with Burnley versus Everton.
Whipped in towards the back post. Goodmanson is there!
Sigurdsson with a shot! Sigurdsson scored!
Saturday with BBC Radio 5 Live.
This is 5 Live Sport with Jonathan Overend.
Here at the Emirates Stadium, part shell-shocked after Manchester City's brilliant first 45, but part also accepting of the demise of Arsenal at the moment. 3-0 down to Manchester City, that despite having had more shots on goal. Arsenal lead 8-6 in that department, but that's just how ruthless Pep Guardiola's seen are right now. You can talk to Martin Keown at full time. 08085 909 693. We're with you through until 10 o'clock. 15 minutes away from kickoff in Ohio in Phil Neville's first match as manager of the England women's team. They play France in the She Believes Cup. Let's join our reporter there, Joe Curry.
Yes, hello Jonathan, welcome to a soaking wet Mapfre Stadium. It's rained all day here. They've had leaf blowers on the pitch, they've had squeegees. The weather looks like it's holding up for the moment, but the conditions are absolutely horrible. Now, the editor of women's football magazine, She Kicks magazine, Jenna Neal, has braved the weather. Jen, thanks for joining us. In terms of England team news, Millie Bright, the centre-back, she's overcome illness, she's fit, she starts. How much of a relief is that for Phil Neville?
I think it's a big relief given that his captain Steph Houghton isn't here, her usual centre-back partner for England. She's been a great performer for England over the last year, particularly at the Euros, really blossomed. And she's playing alongside Anita Asante, who's recalled to the squad. It's a club mate at Chelsea, so hopefully that'll give some steadiness at the back.
Now, England, traditionally, they've never done particularly well against France. They've won one of the last 10 meetings between the two. What is it about and can't handle?
Well, they've just found them tough psychologically, I think, to play against. Very technical, very quick up front, but they've always been very tight games, actually. And then France will nick a goal later on, so there's always a little bit of drama, but I think they're over that fear now, and I think we're expecting a pretty competitive, tight encounter, and I can't call it, but I would hope that England would edge it.
Phil Neville said this week he thinks there are people that want to see him fail. Has he got a point?
I think there are people within society who might want him to fail. I think there are people within football who might want him to fail, and that's maybe the sort of anti-Man U thing. But I don't think that there are people within the women's game who want him to fail. I think we want to see a successful England side, and he's part of that.
Jen, thank you. Jonathan, you'll be pleased to hear I spotted Phil Neville earlier. He's wearing a full suit, including a waistcoat, but bearing in mind the weather conditions, I think he might be regretting that choice now.
Thank you very much indeed, Joe. Coverage on the BBC Sport website and the red button if you want to watch that one. Well, Arsenal were booed off the field and they're booed back onto it for the second half. No sign of Manchester City just yet. So let's have a word with Alison Kirbishley in Birmingham, watching Laura Muir win a brilliant bronze, Alison, in the 3,000 metres. How much will this do for her confidence ahead of the 1,500, which she also runs tomorrow?
Oh, a huge amount, Jonathan. You know, that's her first global medal. This is an athlete who's been promising so much, particularly indoors, for the last 4 years. Obviously, we saw her take the double gold at the European indoors over 3K and 1,500 last year, but this was another level. This was a phenomenal lineup. She had the world record holder in Ganzebi Dibaba. She had the world champion over 5,000 metres in Helen Obiri, who she beat to that bronze medal. Obiri back in fourth, and I tell you what, there could have been a gold there. It was a real tussle in the middle of the race where the injection of pace was put in from Dibaba, and she hit the front and really sort of ran from home for the last kilometre, and Laura really got in a bit of a mess with the German athlete, but it was a phenomenal finish to reel home in bronze medal position.
BBC Two to continue following the live athletics tonight. Right, just underway, second half here at the Emirates. How many, you wonder, will have headed off to avoid any risk of not making it back tonight? Well, disappointing first half for Arsenal. City, brilliant. Back to John Murray.
Yes, it is 3-0 as the second half begins here at a freezing Emirates Stadium, still with light snow falling and Arsenal falling too. 3-0 down. Bernardo Silva, David Silva. So the streets of London have been paved with silver tonight. And also Leroy Sané, who completed the scoring in the first half. And free kick to Manchester City halfway inside their own half. No substitutions at the break. Arsenal were sent out a little earlier than Manchester City by Arsene Wenger. Czech in goal, back four of Bellerin, Mustafi, Koscielny and Kolasinac, Xhaka and Ramsey, and Ozil in the central areas, Mkhitaryan and Welbeck wide, Aubameyang in the middle. Very attacking lineup if you weren't listening to us in the first half. Still no Lacazette, he's on the injured list. Jack Wilshere also has an ankle problem, and Monreal is out as well. And for Manchester City, Delph still suspended, and Raheem Sterling injured. So the Manchester City side also without Fernandinho. Ederson in goal, back four of Walker, Kompany, Otamendi and Danilo. De Bruyne and Gundogan more centrally, David Silva in the middle, Bernardo Silva on the right, Leroy Sané on the left, and Sergio Aguero up front, still looking for his 200th goal. He scored in his last 5 appearances against Arsenal, including in the final on Sunday. Get a word from Martin Keown, who's with us here on 5 Live for the commentary in a moment. But Arsenal, playing from right to left in the second half, are in possession in the red shirts with the white sleeves, and Xhaka now plays it towards Kolasinac, back to Xhaka, left-footed cross is headed away by Kompany, who is under no particular pressure. So, Martin, you know, you've been in so many dressing rooms with Arsene Wenger. How will he have been, do you sense, at half-time?
Well, I mean, he does things with routine and never really rants and raves at the players. Certainly, that, you know, the autopsy over this game won't be happening at half-time. We're just looking for the players to pick up the spirit, and you don't necessarily get a performance by telling people they're not particularly good. And that Arsenal weren't very good in that first half, so we're trying to look at some sort of positive and get the team to build and attack. But I'm just watching the start of the second half. Ozil has had the ball 3 times, he's given it away 3 times. I wonder if Wenger would be so brave as to suddenly say, come and sit next to me, because you're not doing well enough. I wonder if it needs something like that, just to so that players are a little bit more accountable for what they're doing, because players are not having the best of evenings tonight.
Just a few weeks, Ozil, after signing that the contract, that long-awaited new contract that throw into Arsenal, level with the edge of the Manchester City box, and Arsenal play it back towards the halfway line. Touch from Ramsey, and then it's taken up in centre field by Ozil, who very nearly gave the ball away again to Bernardo Silva. Now Welbeck has it on the left-hand side, but it's played back by Kolasinac to the halfway line. So we will be taking more of your calls at full time on air tonight until 10 o'clock this evening, before Adrian Childs takes over with Question Time Extra Time. But lots of questions for Arsenal and Arsene Wenger again. Ramsey in the middle of the half, but it's Gundogan who steps in, now gets it back. He's taken it on deep into the Arsenal half, plays the ball forward for Aguero to chase, but that's an easy one for Cech to come out to his left and gather low down and underarm it out. And Arsenal start again from deep inside their own half. Just wonder as well, though, really, Martin, how much Arsene Wenger has to look at himself, really, as well, with the selection on Sunday and the selection here today. Welbeck on the left-hand side, trying to find a way through against Kompany and Walker. Arsene Wenger is there now on the edge of the coaching area. They're claiming that Welbeck should have won a free kick. No free kick from Andre Mariner. And then Bernardo Silva is bundled over, and it's a free kick.
I think Wenger is remonstrating there that there was a foul on Danny Welbeck. I thought maybe he was right there. Kompany lunged in a little bit, Otamendi as well.
But he pointed to some of the decisions on Sunday at Wembley.
He's clutching.
I was just going to use that phrase.
He's clutching at straws, because.
But he hasn't got that tonight.
No, I mean, just looking at a replay there, and I think really Kompany did. Well, there's nothing wrong. And Walker's had a little bit of a kick at Danny Welbeck there. In fairness, the referee's elected to play on. Ozil now is down getting treatment. I think he's got a kick in the face. He has.
He's taken one of his gloves off, so he can tend to the knock that he's taken in his face, and he's walking around rather dolefully now, Arsenal's number 11. So the ball's played back to Ederson, who turns a pass that's actually for once a little short from Ederson, and Kompany, his pass to Walker meant that it was touched out of play, and Ozil is still not terribly happy with the bang that he's taken, possibly on his nose, and is using his white sleeve to wipe his nose while Arsenal take this throw in. Welbeck has it on the left-hand side. Welbeck gives it back to Kolasinac, and Welbeck looks for the return pass. Ramsey twisting in a tight area, and the Welshman plays it all the way back to Koscielny nearer the halfway line, and Arsenal start again. Just keeping an eye on Ozil.
You don't think he's going to go off with that, do you?
I hope not. He has put his... He's about to put his glove back on now, so that might suggest that the recovery process is almost complete. But really, he just continues to wander around here as Arsenal have possession, but it bounces down. Gundogan swings a leg at it. Now the ball from the right-hand side from Bellerin. Oh, challenge inside the penalty area, and Mkhitaryan, he's fouled him, and it is a penalty. Otamendi put the challenge in on Mkhitaryan, who went down. It's a penalty to Arsenal.
Well, it looked very wild, didn't it, from Otamendi? Just looking at a replay, it's played into the box, and he just catches the back of his leg. He just gets there. Mkhitaryan just a fraction ahead, and then it's a kick in the back of the calf, no doubt about it. It's a lifeline for Arsenal. Arsenal made it very scrappy at the start of this second half, and City been asked to defend for most of it, I suppose. It's a reaction, definitely, and let's just hope. We're just looking to see who's going to take it. I think
it's Aubameyang.
Aubameyang,
who has taken the ball. Arsenal's club record signing, who really has barely had a sight of goal this evening, much like Sunday. But here is a golden opportunity to grab a goal back for Arsenal. And Aubameyang waits, hands on his hips on the edge of the area. Ederson to beat, who has saved a couple of penalties this season, the Manchester City goalkeeper. So up comes Aubameyang, and he has saved it. Ederson leaping to his left, athletically so, parries the ball away, and now Arsenal have missed a penalty.
You know, in the commentary we're not allowed to jump across, but you just had the feeling he was going to miss it. We saw a screen of his favourite spot that he goes for, and the goalkeeper will know that. He's missed in the past the other side of the goal, and he just went for his trusted corner. There's not enough pace on it, and Ederson, who's just, well, he's majestic, isn't he, the way he just moves across. You've got to be a whole lot better to beat him from there, I'm afraid.
Yeah, by no means was it right in the corner, by no means at all.
These are all important stepping stones, aren't they? You know, you get your goal back into the game, and at every junction it's just another slap in the face for the Arsenal fans.
3-0 it remains to Manchester City, and Ederson, as I mentioned, having made penalty saves this season against Napoli in the Champions League. Remember the save against Crystal Palace as well, when the Manchester City winning streak in the Premier League came to an end, but they did get a point out of the game, partly thanks to that penalty save, and now it never rains but it snows for Arsenal. After that missed penalty, it remains 3-0, and whatever hope they had of finding a foothold in the match disappeared. Ozil gives it away to Kompany, and I think one or two Arsenal supporters have picked up on this from Ozil as well, the way that he started the second half. Danilo turns, plays it back into his own half, and now Manchester City with David Silva, who've actually made a quietish start to the second half after the big effort that they put in the first period, and then a foul on the far side on David Silva by Aaron Ramsey, and it's a free kick out there on the left-hand side.
Well, this is a sort of competitive bit that Arsenal should have been thinking about doing maybe in the first half, you know, putting their footing a little bit, maybe getting a bit of pride back.
Too late now, though.
It is, but you can understand the City players that have sat back a little bit. You know, they're 3-0 up, they've gone in at half-time, they're looking already to the weekend, another big game coming up for them. Is it Chelsea?
Yes, Chelsea Sunday afternoon at the Etihad Stadium. But, you know, with this victory, the finishing post is almost in sight for Manchester City in the Premier League. Here's Ramsey, though. Ozil on the edge of the penalty area. In comes the challenge, and Manchester City are able to block it away. Arsenal back in possession in the central third, and Mustafi is actually under pressure from De Bruyne, turning it all the way back to Cech, who takes a touch. Oh, very nearly presented it back to De Bruyne. He was very, very lucky there, Petr Cech, that it bounced back into his path, and now it's crashed downfield, and Ederson is way out of his penalty area, challenging for the ball. Ozil was there, and I think Ederson has clattered his own man, and Otamendi has ended up in a heap. He came a good 10 yards out of his penalty area, the Manchester City goalkeeper.
Well, it's the tale of two goalkeepers, isn't it? And what was interesting is, who's the first player that's decided he's going to press Petr Cech? It's De Bruyne.
Yeah.
Because he's the brains of the team. I'm not having this. I want someone to go and press, and he races out.
Yeah.
And he puts Petr Cech under pressure. So for some reason we're looking at the penalty in the replays.
But Petr Cech has had some uncomfortable moments, hasn't he, this season in those sort of positions?
Well, you're quite right, Jonathan. I would have been saying to him, you know, he looks at times like a young goalkeeper that is taking too many risks. When he's not, he's a very experienced man, but he's got into this habit of wanting to dummy, and the ball got caught up in his feet there, and he gets away with it, and it races, typical of this game, it races straight down the other end, and Ederson flattens Otamendi,
who is okay. He's no worse than just slightly dazed, so he's okay. Sané, who was one of the men, if not the man, of the first half, Leroy Sané, who's hardly had a touch in the second half, loses possession, and Arsenal have got it back. And more groans because Mustafi again has turned and played the ball back to Petr Cech rather than going forward. And again, for those who haven't been listening all evening to us on 5 Live, you know, the Emirates Stadium, the crowd's been given as 58,420, but as ever here, that is a figure of tickets sold, but it is approximately half full, and in actual fact, I think quite a number of people have actually headed because of the transport restrictions this evening that are in place around London. I think it is even less full than it was.
This is the problem for Arsenal now, and you're looking at developing the play, and because Ramsey wants to disappear out of midfield, Xhaka is the only option into midfield. So when Mustafi looks up, he plays it to Xhaka, and then he goes back to the keeper. But it's the build-up, the construction of that build-up has to improve for Arsenal, and Wenger needs to improve it.
Brilliant turn from Sané on the corner of the penalty area, very nearly took it on into the box, and then now in centre field, Danny Welbeck is tripped, free kick, taken quickly. Referee Mariner says it was being taken in the wrong place. Arsenal looking to move the game on quickly. I mean, there is more spirit from Arsenal in the second half, but
they're trying to play here.
The game had gone. Cross deflected, which carried it behind before Ederson was able to move to his left and catch the ball. It dropped over the dead ball line, so it's another corner to Arsenal. From over on the far side, they look as though they might want to take a quick one. Xhaka and Ozil together. Ozil now plays it back to Xhaka, who sprinted back up the line, and from the set piece, Bellerin plays it across, Ramsey lifts it in, Aubameyang volleys wide. A snapshot on the volley from just inside the area, dragged a couple of feet wide.
Well, he's hit that on the spin, hasn't he? It's just come over his shoulder, and it could go anywhere, and it nearly goes in the back of the net. I applaud him for hitting that first time. He's shown some confidence. You know, Lacazette, who's gone off for an operation, has been lacking that, but he showed some confidence there. Better from Arsenal, but you do feel that the game is gone, but now there's a little bit of a performance from Arsenal.
Just over half an hour to play. 5 Live from the BBC. Arsenal 0, Manchester City 3. You can listen to us as well on the move via the BBC Sport app, and we'll continue to update you on the World Athletics in Birmingham during the course of the evening. You can follow that on BBC 2 this evening if you're heading home. And very soon, if it hasn't already begun, Phil Neville's first match as the England manager will be underway. France against England in the She Believes Cup, and we have Joe Curry in Ohio to update us on that. But it is 3-0 to Manchester City, and it's just underway, and it is France 0, England 0. You can watch that, by the way, on the red button this evening, or on the BBC Sport website or app. Our friend and colleague Jonathan Pearce is there following the game. Here's Ozil on the right-hand side. Ozil brings the ball back onto his left foot. In comes the challenge on the edge of the penalty area. The ball spins centrally to Ramsey, who swings it across under pressure. Kolasinac's ball into the penalty area. Kompany is able to come across and hoist it out of play for a throw-in halfway inside the Manchester City half. Throw-in that Kolasinac will take, receives it from Xhaka. Not too much movement here. Aubameyang comes across and offers himself. In fact, he's come all the way across, hooked away back to throw-in taker Kolasinac. Xhaka goes backwards to the halfway line. Koscielny was under pressure from Aguero, just managed to rescue the situation, and it's worked out to the far side to Bellerin, and then back in field towards Mustafi. There's a little rumble goes round the ground when Mustafi had possession. Long ball forward, up the right-hand side for Ramsey to chase.
That's what you have to do. You have to go forward, because as soon as you go backwards, that's the trigger. That seems to be the trigger for City players to put you under untold pressure.
And then it breaks down for Arsenal on the far side. Ozil's pass didn't find its intended target, and it's a throw-in to Manchester City, halfway inside their own territory.
Just doing enough, City, aren't they, really? Just coasting.
Well, the big game you mentioned against Chelsea on Sunday afternoon, you know.
But at any moment, you know, Sané might just decide again to go on one of those blistering runs. It could be a little bit of brilliance from De Bruyne. They're just nice and compact, allowing Arsenal to have the ball just inside their own half.
Yeah, but you're right, Martin. I mean, they've won the game. They've done the job in the first half. They've got these big games coming up. The ball's been lost by Walker, though. He's presented it to Welbeck, who takes it on against Kompany. The Kompany might have fouled Welbeck there, and then Kompany ended up throwing himself down. And in actual fact, Manchester City have been able to work it out of play.
I actually think that would have been a foul if Welbeck hadn't have fallen. He slipped, but Kompany put his body completely in the way of him.
3-0 to Manchester City. We also there had the fiercest blast of icy wind of the evening so far, and something was blown off the desk. I'm not sure what it was. Here is Gundogan, who plays it back into his own half. It was the top of a cup of tea. I wondered what it was. Here's Gundogan, who gives it to Kompany in the centre circle. 3-0 Manchester City. 08085 909 693. To join us till 10 o'clock this evening. Jonathan Overend is here with us. De Bruyne makes a run forward, but City have got the ball on the halfway line. But, you know, they've got the Champions League matches come up. They're virtually written into the quarterfinals. So well did they do away from home against Porto, against Basel.
They just, when you look at these footballers and you look at De Bruyne, he's just such a great mind, isn't it? He's just, the way that he is out on the, so thoughtful in his play. Thinking footballer. I mean, he's made a great run out, just out of everyone's eye line, but I'm watching him. It's hard to take your eyes off him. He's in possession, out of possession. I think he's the complete player in the Premier League at the moment.
3-0 to Manchester City, and the ball is taken up by Sané, who wins it back inside his own half, and suddenly a burst and he's away, almost up to the edge of the penalty area. Actually checks and gives it back to David Silva. So many of the attacking talents have actually been very quiet for City in the second half, but De Bruyne with a touch, and then Gundogan out towards the far side to Sané, and City go back into their own half, and in fact all the way back to goalkeeper header.
You try and sort of look at Sané, and I mean, I suppose if it's rugby, it's a rugby player that makes yards with the ball, and everyone is out of their seats because as soon as he gets it, and that's what Sané does. He just takes it. There they are again. They've got their shape out now. You can see the width that they've got. De Bruyne now looking to patrol within that canvas. Look at him, he's on the ball. Silva, they're just starting to get into the move, and maybe something special is going to come again. A bit of a sloppy ball there from Aguero, and that's the only thing that will defeat City from scoring another goal here, is being sloppy.
Well, Aguero wants a goal. He's not been able to get in on the act, and here he is now, Aguero, with a run towards the edge of the penalty area, looks for Bernardo Silva on the right hand side. Arsenal have had to struggle to get back into position. Walker just dwelt on the ball there for a moment or two. Bernardo Silva then back to the ruddy-faced Kevin De Bruyne. On a night like this, even more ruddy-faced than he normally is, and then Manchester City just keep possession and go all the way back towards the halfway line. Otamendi plays it square to Kompany, and now across to Walker, and Arsenal have been able to press City back, but Kompany has given it away. He's passed it straight to Ozil. Now then, what can Arsenal do here? Ozil finds himself sandwiched between a combination of Bernardo Silva and Gundogan, and is easily dispossessed, and it comes to nothing.
I think the fans have shown their displeasure as well for Ozil there, because there was no intelligence about that bit of play.
Here he is again, Ozil. He'll have to stretch for this. He won't reach it. It runs away out of play for a throw-in to Manchester City in the right-back position. Well, the Arsenal fans will be on to Ozil tonight. You've mentioned it already, Martin, in the second half. Join in if you like. 08085 909 693. We also want to talk, there's no Fernandinho this evening, the injured Fernandinho, who's been such a staple for Manchester City, yet they've dealt with him. And you talked in the first half about the new Iniesta and Xavi. That might be something you want to talk about on 08085 909 693. Also, what next for Arsenal? That simple, almost age-old question. So get in touch at 5 Live Sport on whatever social media you use. Here is Kolasinac, couldn't slip the ball through the inside left position. Kompany was able to slide across, and then Bernardo Silva is fouled by Ramsey.
See, that was a difference there. Ramsey actually made himself available. So Koscielny then had two options in the midfield, and then Arsenal were able to get out. It's that trigger to get out and build attacks, and that's where they can't get past first base because they don't have the options in midfield.
Martin Keown, former England and Arsenal central defender, with us here at the Emirates Stadium, where it was 3-0 at half-time and it remains 3-0 to Manchester City.
Here we have a throw-in, and everybody except Xhaka is ahead of the ball in the midfield. You know, so you haven't got the numbers, and then Xhaka goes back to the keeper again, and then you can hear the crowds booing, and it's so... Arsenal just need to set their stall out much better from basics, really. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, it almost feel that this game was half won by what happened on Sunday at Wembley, and Arsenal for Manchester City were there for the taking in the Premier League tonight, and they've well and truly taken them. And City with the ball on the left-hand side, being rode on by their supporters, who are just counting it down now until they win back the Premier League title. Here is Walker to the right-hand side, and Bernardo Silva now moves in from the right flank. He's on his left foot, dangerous, and then stretches for it, put under pressure by Ramsey, and Arsenal played over the top. This is for Aubameyang to chase down the right-hand side. Ozil making up ground in the middle. Aubameyang with the cross, hits the first defender, Otamendi, and it bounces back past him for a throw-in.
Again, it's good play because Ramsey decides he wants to come back in alongside Xhaka and become a proper midfield player, and ultimately then Bernardo Silva runs into him and Arsenal can mount an attack. It's just basics, pull people back into position.
3-0 Manchester City, and 3 very good goals in the first half that they scored 2. Arsenal with Mustafi, who turns and is put under pressure and again has to pass it back to his goalkeeper. So 3-0 to Manchester City, and there has been an early goal in Ohio. We'll cross there in a moment because here's Zane on the left-hand side. Zane plays the ball back up the line, and now David Silva square towards De Bruyne, who plays it back into his own half. So in Philip Neville's first match as the England manager against France in Columbus, Ohio, Joe Curry.
Yes, Neville's tenure's got off to the best possible start. England have taken the lead in the 7th minute. Frank Kirby finding Tony Duggan on the edge of the area, knocked it onto her right foot and curled it into the bottom right-hand corner. England 1, France 0.
Just the start he'll have wanted. You can watch it on the red button, follow it on the BBC Sport website or app. England 1-0 up. And here, Arsenal 3-0 down. But Ozil playing the ball back inside his own half, and Xhaka chips it forward for Welbeck to chase. Might have used a hand there against Walker, but it was on the blind side of the officials, and then Walker anyway is able to deal with Welbeck, dispossess him. And Manchester City now with Aguero, who had one chance in the first half that was saved by Petr Cech, rolls it out to Zane on the left-hand side, almost with his heels on the white line. David Silva. Now Danilo, who I saw score that wonderful goal against Burnley at Turf Moor the other week. Danilo again in possession, will go back towards the halfway line. Kompany, now the player switch to the right flank here. Bernardo Silva takes possession just a few yards away from where an extremely well wrapped up Pep Guardiola is standing with his black woolly hat on and big black scarf. Pass out towards Zane on the left hand side. He manages to move away from Bellerin, then play it back just to the left of the centre circle, where it's played square by Danilo, and now the Olays from the Manchester City supporters. And Bernardo Silva, Arsenal pressing them back into their own half, and all the way back to Kompany, who tries to pick out a pass to Bernardo Silva. It bounces off Kolasinac, who will then trip Bernardo Silva, and Manchester City have a free kick. Martin Keown.
Just controlling the game nicely, aren't they? You know, great to see Vincent Kompany as well, playing so well again. A beautiful pass out there to Zane on the left-hand side, and that's you know, they're managing the game.
It's exactly what they're doing. And Welbeck to Ramsey, who looks to cross, takes a deflection off Walker, who is able to stretch him, clear it over his own head and clear it away. De Bruyne volleys it into a central area, David Silva's beaten to it, and we're about to see the first substitution of the evening, and it's young Zinchenko who's going to come on with 20 minutes to play as David Silva manages to prod the ball forward but not into the path of De Bruyne, and Ozil ended up in a heap on the ground again after that latest Arsenal attack broke down. Back on his feet now, Walker in the right back position. Walker as Ozil blocking it out of play for a throw-in to the visitors, who are winning by 3-0. And now here is the change, and it is Kyle Walker, who is the first player, who is the former Tottenham man, roundly booed as his number is up, and he is the first player that Pep Guardiola is giving a breather to, with the big games in mind that are coming up for Manchester City, and he's actually just feeling his right hip.
There was a grimace when he was a bit earlier in the game, and he ran past the bench and pulling all sorts of faces, so he's not one who would normally come off unless there's a problem, and maybe it's his back. He looks a bit stiff, doesn't he, moving, and he hasn't got forward nearly as much tonight as he normally does.
So young Zinchenko is going to come on and play at left back, so I guess Danilo will move across. Well, he is, because he's taking the throw in the right back area, Danilo. And this ball downfield, Cech is a long way out of his penalty area and just volleys it out of our sight, actually, up above the level of the middle tier above our eyes, and then Kompany takes it down, and Manchester City will start again from inside their own half.
Just interesting, the reaction from a few of the supporters near us there. That ball's been it was in the air for an age, and there was no Arsenal player anywhere near it to challenge.
And now Aguero wriggles away from the first challenge on him, but then across comes Xhaka to put the challenge in on Aguero. David Silva now receives a couple of hefty ones, but brilliantly keeps possession, keeps his feet, and then an error by Gundogan to pass it out of play on the halfway line. 3-0 Manchester City.
Well, it's a talking point, isn't it? An error from a City player.
Certainly is. A maximum of 6 more wins they needed to win the title coming into this match tonight. Such is their commanding lead at the top of the table over Manchester United currently. Here's Xhaka. Xhaka will play it square. And when you're thinking about the Champions League, you know, if they're in an unassailable position almost, then there is that luxury of being able to rest players with the Champions League in mind. Arsenal coming forward, the ball crossed from the right flank but blocked on the edge of the penalty area, and now De Bruyne with a little pass, but that's mopped up for Arsenal by Bellerin. But De Bruyne was caught after the ball had gone, and it's a free kick to Manchester City.
Perhaps it was Koscielny who just caught him there, and I think there's players have got so many big prizes to aim for, haven't they? Not to mention a World Cup at the end of this season, so they're managing their energy levels as well, and they international games coming up as well, you know, friendlies of course, and you know, I mean, there's a lot of, if you're looking here at De Bruyne and Kompany, I wonder if they'd be fancying they can win a World Cup this summer. You know, Hazard to add to that, also playing in the Premier League, so there's a lot of football still left for these players, and for me they're just now not going through the motions, but they're just managing it beautifully really to the end of the game. I think Guardiola would be quite happy with this. It would have been interesting if the penalty had gone in, because Arsenal have been a tad better in the second, not much better, because really it's difficult to judge City in the second half.
3-0 to Manchester City, and as Martin Keown has said, City have just managed the game in the second half. Yes, mention of Russia. It's getting closer all the time, Martin, isn't it? Have you got your visa sorted out yet?
Well, it's an army of paperwork, isn't it, to go through, so
yes.
No is the answer.
No, well, yeah.
I didn't realise I had to name all 50 countries I'd been to in the last 4 years.
Well, have you not done that yet? Do you not know that off the top of your head?
No, well, I'm scampering around. I forget one wrong. Will they let me in?
Who knows? Who knows? We're sitting here in Russian conditions, aren't we, with this Siberian wind blowing into the Emirates Stadium, but it won't be like that in Russia this summer. It'll be much warmer, I promise you that. And we're looking forward to bringing that to you on 5 Live BBC Television. Here's David Silva touching the ball out towards the left-hand side, comes back towards Gundogan, and more Arsenal supporters very slowly are leaving the stadium as the time ticks by. As I've said, you know, there are travel restrictions in terms of the last public transport in London this evening because of the weather conditions, so maybe they were going anyway, but I think the scoreline certainly doesn't help. 3-0, and here's David Silva now looking to lay it across to Sergio Aguero, but misplaced by the little magician, David Silva, and Arsenal were able to clear it away. Kevin De Bruyne back in a central area, and now Danilo taking up the right back role and winning a throw-in just in front of Pep Guardiola, where it bounces out of play for another throw-in to City.
I wonder if he will take any more of his players off, really. You know, Company at the back, 2 games in quick succession, and I think he might be, but again, he's been outstanding. Brings that calmness to the defence, the know-how. Maybe they should just take him off, really, just to protect him.
Yep. And Manchester City with the ball inside their own half, both Stones and Laporte among the substitutes. Are you getting slightly concerned about John Stones' game time from an England point of view?
Yes, of course. I mean, it feels very much he's one for the future almost for City, and you know, Gareth Southgate can't afford to pick him if he's not going to play for City. I mean, it's an outstanding club to be at, and it's much more difficult to get into the City team, such as the standard, but you want him playing, and it seems as if the manager's lost a little bit of belief in him.
We're in the last 15 minutes now, and here's Ramsey trying to find a way through after a little flick forward by Xhaka, but Manchester City were back there in numbers, and then Xhaka feels that he's been fouled, but referee Mariner says not, and Manchester City are over the halfway line. De Bruyne is driving forward through the middle, lifts it through. I think Sané might have been in an offside position, but it was headed away out towards Bernardo Silva on the right hand side, who plays it back towards the halfway line. It was Bernardo Silva who started the scoring this evening, but it was set up brilliantly by Sané on the left hand side in the 14th minute, but a lovely curling left-footed finish by Bernardo Silva. David Silva scored the second goal. Sané was involved in that one as well. The little pass in by Aguero to David Silva, who took a couple of touches, and now Aguero is laid through, shoots low, Cech gets down to his right, sticks out his right glove and is able to parry it away.
Great little bit of football again. It's just straight pass from Company, sort of an up back, just lent by Silva, and then it's punched forward. Great through pass. Aguero, the willing runner, gets the angle on the shot, and Petr Cech matches it.
And another quite intense snow shower actually signals a number of supporters to get to their feet and head for the exits. That's the final straw. 3-0 down, as it was at half-time, just like on Sunday in terms of the scoreline. Arsenal playing the ball back. Mustafi once again to Cech, who's now kept out Aguero twice. Cech's clearance to the halfway line. Aubameyang wins the header, but it's tidied up by Manchester City, and De Bruyne, being put under pressure, in actual fact is dispossessed. And now Aubameyang plays it through the middle, and a heavy touch on the edge of the box, carried it away, and the ball has been cleared by Manchester City downfield. Mkhitaryan won the penalty, but is it me, or has he been extremely quiet?
Well, we talk about Ozil and not doing a great deal, and I think if Mourinho's watching this tonight, he'll be thinking that he's done pretty well out of the deal, really, because he's not had the effects as Sanchez may have done in this game tonight. I haven't seen that fire from him. He's been on the edge of the match, really.
And we talked Arsenal about the ball's played forward for Aguero, who turned and sets off, sprinting down into the full-back position, but he won't reach that, and it's out of play for a goal kick. We talked about the potential of Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang reprising what they did together at Borussia Dortmund, but there's been next to no sign of that this evening.
Not at all. Mkhitaryan has been quite quiet. He's played in a wide position. Whether that's where he wants to play, I think he'd be best served just coming in central. That's what he did against Everton, and of course Everton at home is somewhat different to playing against City, and this is where he's going to be judged.
And here is Mkhitaryan, Arsenal's relatively new number 7. And now dozens and dozens of Arsenal fans heading up the steps to our left for the exit on the other side of the white railing, and one of them stops to take a selfie of himself, and Kolasinac plays it back into his own half. So we want your calls before 10 o'clock tonight, before question time, extra time, on 08085 909 693. with Jonathan Overend here at the Emirates Stadium. And then tomorrow night, by the way, 5 Live Sport, a couple of really good guests I'll tell you about in a moment. Kolasinac playing the ball in towards the edge of the area. Kompany was in position though to play it away, and Bernardo Silva can't keep it in, so it's a throw in to Arsenal. Just a little further on than halfway inside the Manchester City half. Kolasinac takes a throw, comes off De Bruyne. Welbeck's after this into the penalty area, but Danilo beats him to it and clears it away towards the halfway line.
Played better, doesn't he, Danilo, tonight, I felt. Looks stronger, picking up the way that City want to defend and to play. Of course, we know he wants to keep running forward, but he's been solid defensively. Played on both flanks as well. So flexible.
And he's about to take this throw in. Can play in a number of positions, but that's how Pep Guardiola likes it, isn't it? His footballers, as Aguero concedes a throw and Arsenal will have it. We're going to see Yaya Toure in a moment. He's not played in the last 10 matches. Thought he might play tonight in the absence of Fernandinho, but it's only a late cameo from him to take over from Sergio Aguero, who won't get his goal tonight against Manchester City. Petr Cech has denied him twice, once in each half, and he will have to wait a little longer for goal number 200 for Manchester City. And he raises a rather weary arm as the Manchester City supporters cheer him, and Yaya Toure comes on and he gets a hug from Pep Guardiola on his way to the bench.
Well, I wonder if that's a player, Yaya Toure, that got away. Arsene Wenger could have bought him to the football club quite a few years ago, and I think Yaya Toure would be disappointed he didn't start the game tonight. It's kind of like, it's the writing on the wall for him, really. I think in terms of his future, he should have started the game, but they've got such quality, you can't question the selection.
Yep. 3-0 to Manchester City. BBC 5 Live, more Premier League commentary at the weekend as Gundogan turns very nicely in a tight area, gives it to De Bruyne, who's put under pressure by Mustafi, but was able to keep the ball and play it to Sané on the left-hand side. Sané now in the full-back position into the penalty area. De Bruyne makes a weaving run. Sané still with it, just moving back into the full-back area. De Bruyne, who pulled out towards the left-hand side. Zinchenko is there as well, and then Zinchenko back to Gundogan, and that is typical Manchester City, typical Guardiola play. The sort of quick, slow, and then they're back in possession all the way to the halfway line, and now De Bruyne will play it again to Gundogan, who sees young Zinchenko, the Ukrainian international. De Bruyne with a touch, and it runs to Arsenal after just a little heavy from the Belgian. So 6 minutes or so plus added time to play. It remains 3-0 to Manchester City. And 5 Live Sport tomorrow night, Darren Fletcher and Jermaine Jenas together as usual on a Friday night. The guests tomorrow night, Will Grigg, not only Will Grigg, but also Ryan Mason, who we did have on the programme on a Friday night a couple of weeks ago after his untimely retirement from the game. But he's going to join Darren and Jermaine on the programme for the duration tomorrow night, which will be really good to hear from him.
I think it's great that Ryan Mason's been offered a role back into the game, isn't it? But I think Tottenham, there's talk of that. That shows the manager there, Pochettino, he shows his quality, doesn't he, by bringing him, embracing him, taking him back. To lose your career that early, it's a real shame, a disappointment for the player, and it's just one of those things that can happen, and it really surprises you it doesn't happen more.
Yeah, it does. So Ryan Mason and Will Grigg on with Darren Fletcher and Jermaine Jenas tomorrow night after 7 o'clock. Will Grigg, of course, one of the cult heroes of football in the current age, and scoring the winner against Manchester City. But it's Blue Moon here at the Emirates Stadium. Blue Moon, snow coming down, increasing in intensity. And Arsenal now, I mean, how many Arsenal supporters now left inside this ground?
Well, there's not too many, to be fair.
Less than 20,000.
Interesting, De Bruyne now is playing as a centre forward. Yaya Toure's gone into that midfield berth, and De Bruyne has gone and played up front. I think you saw Aguero there running after a ball, didn't he? Tirelessly running after a ball, and Guardiola thought, oh, we don't want a hamstring at this stage, let's just rest him.
Yeah, Gabriel Jesus is on the bench again, but he had his lengthy lay off, and now Danilo as Kompany and Danilo are forced back into their own territory, and Danilo very nearly gave it away to Aubameyang, but was able to find the trusty feet of Ederson, all in yellow. I think there is going to be another change in a moment or two. Arsene Wenger has not made a substitution yet, and in fact it is Gabriel Jesus who's going to come on. But here is the considerable figure of Yaya Toure now in the centre circle, giving it to David Silva. Now to the left hand side to Sané. Arsenal's players struggling to get back into position. David Silva to Sané, and now back to David Silva. Yaya Toure again, the visiting supporters urging him to think about having a shot at goal, but instead he goes square and City go back towards the halfway line. The boy from Brazil, Gabriel Jesus, is going through a lengthy warm-up procedure on the side of the pitch, waiting to come on, if we can call it that, on a night like this. The ball's out on the far side, and we will see, I thought it might be. David Silva is also being saved for more important days ahead, and Gabriel Jesus will come on for him.
I think you see Guardiola's important players he wants to protect and take them off, and Jesus, the Brazilian, I remember when they used to say it was like watching Brazil when Arsenal played. I'm not sure what you say would be like watching tonight, because it's been a very tepid performance from Arsenal. It's turned into a sad evening for Arsene Wenger, and that, to be honest, the press conference, now that becomes suddenly more important than the actual game as to what Arsene Wenger is going to say about this performance, because he felt there was an overreaction at the weekend. They've been totally outplayed here tonight by City. We know they're the kiddies on the block now, and it's gone for Arsenal.
Yeah, it went early, 3-0 up with just over half an hour played tonight, and it remains 3-0. And Arsene Wenger has not yet made a change. The 11 that started this match, with what, 3.5 minutes to play.
No, and I wonder whether that was a case of he wasn't happy with the first half performance and he wanted them to stay out there and maybe suffer it, and he doesn't want anybody else to come off the bench. They're all youngsters. I mean, you think of the number of players that Arsene Wenger's been allowed to let go from the football club, the Oxlade-Chamberlains and the Theo Walcott. I know they weren't necessarily what they wanted, but they flooded out of the football club in 2 transfer windows. Not too many players for Arsene Wenger to turn to now to get him out of trouble.
3-0 to Manchester City. This is BBC 5 Live. 08085 909 693 to join us before 10 o'clock. And you know, what for Arsenal next after this? How would you compare Sunday's defeat to this defeat?
Well, I mean, this has been a fantastic performance from City.
Better than Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. Almost, it felt like worlds apart in their performances, the way that the team is well oiled and how they construct their attacks, the way they defend. It's just, they move the ball beautifully, everybody attuned to one another. Arsenal, no, it's not clicking for Ozil. Look at him giving it a ball away again. Mkhitaryan's not even, I mean, at least Ozil's looking for the ball, but he keeps on giving it away, and that distribution is just that's what Wenger defines his players on.
Here's Sané on the left hand side as Mustafi comes across, looks for Danilo, has popped up on the edge of the penalty area, playing it right back, but Danilo appears almost on the left wing to receive the ball, and now it's being taken on towards the edge of the penalty area. The ball breaks to Gabriel Jesus after Gundogan's run to the edge of the box, then De Bruyne hits a shot that's blocked on the edge of the penalty area, and Arsenal are able to pass it away, and in fact Ramsey is bundled over by Zinchenko, and it's a free kick that he takes quickly. Zinchenko's out of position, so Mkhitaryan's got space here on the left hand side. Aubameyang in the middle, having seen a penalty saved early in the second half, but Mkhitaryan dwelt on the ball, and that gave Zinchenko the chance to recover and nick it away from him.
Well, that was simply awful, wasn't it? A nothing type performance there from Mkhitaryan. Sort of sums him up really this evening.
Well, Arsenal need him to be better than he has been.
Well, he's come here wounded, hasn't he, from Manchester United, where...
Yeah, but with so much to prove.
So much to prove, but he was, you know, a player suffering with confidence, and he needed it to hit, you know, to come here and it to happen quickly for him, and it certainly hasn't since the Everton match.
Bernardo Silva with the ball on the right-hand side. And Arsenal's next match, by the way, Sunday afternoon at Brighton. Not easy. They've found some form and confidence. That's a 5 Live commentary match. Sunday, 1:30 kickoff. So join us for that. 3-0 Manchester City here, and the match just really being played out.
Well, you're looking ahead to the weekend, and such as Arsenal's away form, you can't be sure they're going to get anything there. And then, of course, they play AC Milan in the Europa League.
AC Milan, incidentally, who haven't lost since before Christmas and had won their last 5 matches, as they have suddenly found form before last night when they won through to the final of the Coppa Italia.
I know, in really good form, new manager, and you know, you're thinking it was going to be a game Arsenal could win, but after tonight, I'm not so sure.
Ball, Welbeck challenging forward on the edge of the penalty area, and it's cleared out of play by Danilo for a throw to Arsenal on the left-hand side. So we're into added time, and more Arsenal supporters warmly wrapped up, scarves pulled over their faces as Manchester City concede a throw. And we're going to go back to Columbus, Ohio, because there's been another goal in the France-England match. Joe Curry.
Yes, England have doubled their lead, 2-0. The ball fell to Jill Scott on the edge of the area. She had quite a tentative effort on goal and it just p-rolled into the bottom right-hand corner. Goalkeeper should have done better. England won't care. They lead 2-0.
2-0, and you can follow that. You can watch it via the red button or via the BBC Sport website or app. 5 Live. Join us on 08085 909 693 for the Football Social. Corner to Arsenal. Ozil will swing it across, headed away by Kompany, who got up high, and then it's taken on by Sané, who concedes a foul.
Kompany, we talked about Kompany at the weekend, but he's, you know, exactly the same tonight. 2 performances in quick succession. Dare I say it, the injury issues look, I mean, it was 41 injuries he had. It was quite remarkable resolve to keep going, and he gets everything, you know, he deserves everything he's getting now. Let's just hope he finishes this game.
Mkhitaryan with the free kick after the foul by Sané, but poor delivery from Mkhitaryan, and it's easily cleared away by the first defender. I mean, a match like this, a match of this magnitude, and I accept we have the weather conditions here, but to be able to see the Arsenal cannons, the white cannon, clearly on the opposite side of the ground, because there are so few supporters left inside the ground, you know, tells its own story. And these are low times for Arsenal and Arsene Wenger, and there's the final whistle. And for the second time in the space of a few days, Arsenal have been outclassed by Manchester City. And City this time won the game quickly. They had it 3-0 up before half-time. Arsene Wenger walks across quickly, shakes hands with Pep Guardiola and disappears out of sight. And Guardiola is left to celebrate once again with his staff and his players as he walks onto the field, and Manchester City take another step towards the Premier League title. Martin Keown.
Well, I mean, you know, you can talk about City. They've been outstanding all season. We've known that. I thought they were going to go unbeaten for the whole season. They've pretty well done that. You know, won a trophy at the weekend. They get better and better, and they've just been too good for Arsenal tonight. Just in every department, the way their organisation, their team play, their quality, the way their movement around one another. And it's a sad evening for Arsene Wenger. You know, it really is. As a former player sitting here, I don't think I've seen it this bad in terms of performance since maybe when Terry Neal left the football club in the 80s. There's going to be a massive reaction to this, and I don't think Wenger will walk, but this will test his resolve. There's a big game against Milan, a game at the weekend coming up, and big questions being asked now about whether these players are actually giving everything for Arsene Wenger.
Well, they are walking. They're leaving the field rather meekly, the Arsenal players, while celebrations for the Manchester City players in black in front of their jubilant supporters after a final score of Arsenal 0, Manchester City 3. And Jonathan Overend is here with us.
And we're here until 10 o'clock on 5 Live Sport. 08085 909 693 is our telephone number if you want to talk directly to Martin Keown here at the Emirates. Martin, raising the question just now, are there big questions about whether these Arsenal players are giving their all for their manager? You have to wonder yet again after another second successive 3-0 defeat to Manchester City, who are now 16 points clear of Manchester United at the top of the Premier League table. There is 30 points, 3-0 now, between the two sides we have watched this evening. 08085 909 693. Would winning the Europa League save Wenger and Arsenal's season? What do you think? Who could do a better job than Arsene Wenger? 85058 on the text. And on Manchester City, another masterclass. Pep Guardiola is out there on the pitch in the snow right now, having stood on the touchline for 90 minutes, cajoling his players. He is out there once again applauding the fans, who are magnificent, by the way, the travelling fans from Manchester, and also his players, who are romping towards this Premier League title. It's going to be over in a matter of weeks' time. And also, what about De Bruyne and Silva? We heard Martin Keown say in the first half he believes they are the new Xavi and Iniesta. Could De Bruyne and Silva even surpass those two brilliant Spanish midfielders? 85058 on the text, at 5 Live Sport on social media, 08085 909 693 is our telephone number. We are here until 10 o'clock. Martin, one of the things you said in the build-up to this match struck me, and it was when I was asking you about training, preparation for a match like this after a defeat like they had on Sunday. You said Arsene Wenger is a man of routine. I just wonder whether we're now seeing that. Are we seeing Arsenal just going through the motions, routine, when something drastic needs to change?
Well, we've said already, it does feel like a very sad evening. Is it a defining night? Last season we saw them go out of the Champions League against Bayern Munich, and I think, you know, that was an evening when you thought, you know, Arsenal were majorly second best. I think they 10 goals to nil over those two ties. Tonight's another one of those where, you know, the question marks must be there now, and I think that the owner of the football club has he's supported Arsene Wenger. Okay, he's made a fortune in doing so. It gets ever closer now to a change being made, and Arsene Wenger knows if results continue as they do, and it doesn't. The weekend's not. I'm not looking forward to the Brighton game because you really can't tell what if they lose that one as well. Then this will really test the football club, because Arsene Wenger may feel that he goes and asks the question.